Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the May 9th, 2024 Baltimore City Planning Commission meeting. My name is Sean Davis. I have the pleasure of chairing the commission. Sitting to my right is Chris Ryer, the Director of Planning and Secretary for the Commission. Mr. Ryer, will you call roll?
Robin Allen.
Present.
Marcia Collins.
Present.
Honorable Eric Costello is not present. Talib Horn.
Present.
Claudia Jolin.
Present.
Douglas McCoach.
Present.
Sean Burnett. Justin Williams.
Present.
Eric Stevenson.
Present.
And Sean Davis.
Present. We have before us our minutes for April 18th, 2023. Does anybody have any questions or comments on those? The only one I have is, I believe, Mr. Tiso, on agenda item number 9, which was the City Council Bill 23-0442 rezoning, that Commissioner Allen voted against that proposal and that everybody else voted. So we had the 6-1. Okay. Otherwise, I think the minutes reflect what we decided. Do I have a motion with that correction?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Stevenson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next, just for general public consumption, our next Planning Commission meeting will actually be held on May 30th. The timing is, what's the time? It's 6?
It's 6 o'clock, it should be on the agenda for me.
It is, I'm sorry, it is, at 6 p.m. at the Baltimore Unity Hall in 1505 Utah Place, as opposed to here. The purpose of that meeting is going to be a presentation and discussion regarding the city's comprehensive plan. We invite everybody to attend and be very, very active. The planning department's going to be pushing out information on the comp plan so that, people can be as informed as possible prior to the 30th. And we look forward to seeing you there on the 30th at 6 p.m. as opposed to here at 1 p.m.
It will be a joint
Sustainability.
with the Sustainability
Yep.
Commission also.
This is great. So now moving on to our consent agenda items. We have CIP transfers from the May 1st Board of Estimate meeting. Any questions or comments regarding those? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Vice Chair Stevenson. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We have the minor subdivision final plans for 6812 Everall Avenue in the 2nd District. Questions or comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Vice Chair Stevenson. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Coach. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next, we have the minor subdivision final plans for 2230 North Fulton Avenue and 1800 Penrose Avenue in the 9th District. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Collins. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Stevenson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next, we have City Council Bill 24-0519, Port Covington Community Benefits District and Management Authority renewal through June 30th, 2028 in the 11th districts. Are there any questions, Ms. Jolin? No, I'm sorry. Are there any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Williams.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Collins. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That was one abstention. She was very quiet on that one. And finally, we have minor subdivision revised development plans for 1211 and 1231 Jefferson Street in the 12th District. Any questions or comments regarding this? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Collins. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Horn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Now moving into our regular agenda item. And for everybody in the public, we got a packed agenda. I think we have 12 or 13 regular agenda items, so we are going to move through these real quick. But of course, take all public comment. So with that, I turn it over to Mr. Secretary.
The first item on the regular agenda is minor subdivision and final plans for 1500 Bank Street, also known as Perkins 5 in the 12th Councilmatic District. Caitlin Aldet will present.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I have before you today the final subdivision, minor subdivision and final plans for 1500 Bank Street. This is part of the overall Perkins Somerset Old Town redevelopment. And is found on the south portion of the Perkins site. Going to jump to where we are in the timeline, kind of brief you on just where Perkins is in general, show some fun photos of completed construction. So construction is well underway with phase 1 being completed. Phase 2A and B will be completed in the fall, and phase 3 completed next spring. So everything, there's just a lot of movement happening over there, which is very exciting. Matt was able to attend the ribbon cutting on April 27th, and we have our future planner here. But you can see it looks really great. So this is Perkins 1, or phase 1, in the courtyard and along the street. So you can see, the tree pits, just everything looks fantastic. Here's the view from Bond Street, looking west across the future park. It's looking at phase 2A. You can see phase 1 kind of in the corner, and then phase 2B is to the right in the Tyvek. Here's looking north on Bond Street. So the new construction going up is phase 3 construction. It's on the east side of Bond. And here's a view northwest, looking at phase 2 from the corner of Golf and Caroline Street. So this lot right here will be the park. A view north on Caroline Street with phase 1 to the left and phase 2B at center. And here's a view of phase 1 northwest from Caroline and Claremont. You can see the row house typology down in Claremont and multifamily on Caroline. View of phase 2A, again, multifamily at the corner with the row house typology down Claremont. And here's some stoops that are along Claremont. And again, this is the opposite side of the street, so phase 2A. Okay, so back to the action at hand today. The final subdivision is for Block D, which is located here at the center south portion of the site. And here it is with the final development plan. Here are photos of the previous condition with the now demolished public housing formerly on the site. And the existing condition plan. So this would divide the lot into 2 separate parcels. The south parcel would be for the replacement, affordable, and mixed income portion of the project that is associated with the Choice Neighborhood Grant. The north side would be for market rate multifamily to come at a later date. And so you can see the final development plan for this, the southern portion. And here's the right-of-way planting, which is for the entire block. And so that's all the trees and tree pits. And then the planting plan for the southern side. And the overall aerial, so we can start to understand what it's gonna look like when completed. Like I said, all of phase 1, which is in the left corner, and then phase 2 is directly below that. That's what the construction photos that we saw. Okay, so here are the elevations of the final plan for the southern portion of Block D. And it's each corner from Bond Street, or Bank Street, sorry. And equity, this is the same basic equity statements that we've made for all of the Perkins projects, so I'm not going to go through those. And notification posting, so the notification, the site was properly posted, and all the many individuals that we regularly keep in contact with for PSO items were notified. and staff recommends approval.
Thank you very much, Ms. Audette. Questions for staff? Anyone? Seeing none, do you have a
I
question?
did have a question.
Then,
Okay.
go for it.
Thanks, Caitlin. Just a quick question on the future development site. What is it going to be in the temp space for when you're waiting on?
Yeah, so they are finishing the edges, and I think it is, while construction is happening, it is a bit of a,
Lay down space?
yeah,
Staging area.
staging area. I believe that will be greened over, but the goal would hopefully be that the development would happen when staging is complete, development would happen right afterwards. Beatty is the developer for the site. I think right now they have their hands full with the rest of Perkins, so hopefully, once as that, moves towards construction, they can focus on this. The park, which is directly north of the site, has completed its first stage of design review. They're meeting with the community to kind of push that along. We'll see it at UDAP, and I believe that has to come back here for final development review for subdivision. So I think once that's done, there's going to be a lot of energy to get that final development. But as of right now, it isn't directly stated.
Thank you for addressing my anxiety with this.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, so the anticipated use would be additional residential?
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Audette? Yes, Commissioner Horn.
Just in terms of future development, could you talk a little bit about the new school and sort of where they are in that process?
I am probably not the best person to talk on that. Stacy may be able to. No.
Has nothing to do with this. I was
I
just
do know,
wondering.
or Chris, do you have any?
I know, this is what I know, the school will not be finished until the 28 school year. And we're working with the developer and the school system now to try to understand what the enrollment patterns will be between now and 2028. So when the kids come back, so we're doing an analysis of the number of bedrooms and when they come online as a proxy for when kids might be back.
Can you guys do us a favor and just provide us a little synopsis via email as to
Definitely.
address that question a little bit more fully?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Audette? Seeing none, I open up to the public. Does anybody here wish to comment, talk about this particular agenda item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any questions, deliberations, discussion from the commission? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Commissioner Collins. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Horn. Mr. Secretary, will you call roll?
Robin Allen,
Approved?
Marcia Collins.
Approve?
Talib Horn.
Approve.
Claudia Jolin.
Approve.
Doug McCoach.
Approve.
Justin Williams.
Approve.
Eric Stevenson.
Approve.
And Sean Davis.
Approve. So you didn't have to go far?
Next item on the agenda will be a minor subdivision
Nope.
and development plans for 1211 and 1231 Jefferson Street in the 12th Councilmanic
Not a minor
District.
subdivision.
No, this is the conditional use.
Oh, I'm sorry. City Council Bill 24-0516, conditional uses, I knew it was a parking lot for 1211 Jefferson Street in the 12th Councilmanic District, and Caitlin will present.
Okay, thank you, Commission. So the subject property is currently vacant. It is located within the Perkins Somerset Old Town Transformation Area. Again, we haven't gone too far from the previous item. The site is roughly 0.7 acres and is a portion of the former location of the Somerset Public Housing Community that was demolished in 2009. And so you can see it on here. One thing to note on this plan is that the site is an unusual form, and the future parking lot will be two parking lots, one on the north side of the church, which is the building at the center, and one at the south side of the church. So the one on the south side will bridge two parcels. Okay, so the site is located within formerly the Old Town neighborhood. It's to the west of Old Town Mall, and to the to the west is Old Town Mall, and to the east is North Central Avenue. To the south is Orleans Street. The area is surrounded by a mix of healthcare, educational, and institutional uses. And as I stated before, this is part of the Perkins Somerset Old Town Transformation Plan. You can see in this aerial, which is dated, the kind of work that's happening. Obviously, with this newer image, you can see both Somerset 2 and 3 are complete. And here's a view of the site in question. Waters AME Church is at the middle with another small building directly adjacent to it. And here the streets are becoming more evident. And a view from the north looking south. Okay, so the project is associated with a larger PSO transformation plan. The application for the Choice Grant included a grocery store within the boundaries. In 2023, the developer announced that a Lidl grocery store would be located at the ground floor of 1231 Jefferson Street, which is directly across the street from the 1211 Jefferson. A requirement of the store is the availability of ample parking for customers to include a surface parking lot at this site. The current R10 zoning states that parking lots are conditional by ordinance. The developer and grocer met with the Waters AME Church located adjacent to the site and have come to an agreement to allow church congregants access to the parking lot during limited times. And that was an image from the UDAP from 2020. So this kind of use has been considered for the site for a very long time. Here's the final landscape plan provided to SPRC. And note again that we have the two parcels, even though the parking lots will appear seamless. So when reviewing this use, we look at all the conditional use standards from section 406. I'm gonna kind of skip through these. And so our analysis of these standards, the property has remained vacant since the demolition of Somerset Homes in 2009. And a parking lot was included in images found in the PSO transformation plan, so it's been alluded to since that was adopted. The contract for the Lidl grocery store is contingent on providing this parking. The grocery store is located in a healthy food priority area. It's a critical element of the Choice Neighborhoods Perkins Somerset Old Town Transformation Plan. The new parking lots have satisfied Site Plan Review Committee and will meet the landscape manual, stormwater requirements, and all other necessary development reviews. The site was properly posted in the Old Town Merchants Association, Pleasant View Gardens, Historic Sterling Street Neighbors, Waters AME Church, and over 60 other concerned individuals have been notified of this action. So staff recommends amendment and approval with the following amendment, that the plans approved by the Site Plan Review Committee are attached to and made part of the bill. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Ms. Audette. Are there any questions for Caitlin? Yes, Commissioner McCoach.
Caitlin, I was wondering if the grocery store is also utilizing maybe some of the second floor of that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is sort of a convenience parking, really?
Yeah, and there will be gates at both the entrance and exits, and if you're a customer, when you use you can scan your receipt to get free parking.
Great.
So it'll be really easy, and they've worked really well with Site Plan Review to make sure that there's a large crosswalk so that people can get their carts across. Yeah, it's a raised crosswalk, so you don't have to go up and down any curbs.
That's right.
And the landscape design, will help with cart corrals and that kind of thing.
Nice, thanks.
Any other questions for Ms. Audette? Seeing none, is there anyone here from the public who would like to speak on this agenda item? Come on up.
Brooke Cutchins, Rosenberg, Martin Greenberg. I'm here on behalf of the developer. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I also wanted to jump up just to make sure that you all received our 2 letters of support from the community.
We did, they were on our Wix page.
Okay, great.
Are there any questions for the speaker? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak on this? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Questions, comments, deliberations from the commission? Pretty straightforward. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Collins. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Williams. Mr. Secretary, will you please call roll?
Robin Allen,
Approve.
Marcia Collins.
Approve.
Talib Horn.
Approve.
Claudia Jolin.
Approve.
Doug McCoach.
Approve.
Justin Williams.
Approve.
Eric Stevenson.
Approve.
John Davis.
Approve. Thank you, Caitlin.
Next item on the agenda will be City Council number 24-0511, repeal of ordinance 01-284, Home Depot at Reisterstown Plaza Planned Unit Developed number 112 in the 5th Councilmatic District. Eric Tisa will present.
Mr. Tiso.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. And with your permission, we have 3 repeal bills in a row. Mechanically, they're all substantially similar. Yeah, we got 2 more waiting in the wings, so stay tuned. So I'm going to, and 2 of them, 11 and 12, are actually touching each other. So I'm going to kind of go through the process on the first one and then more briskly move through the other 2, if that's okay with you.
Please.
So this is Reisterstown Road Plaza. Yellow highlight shows the Home Depot, which back in 2001 needed to have a PUD, and I got to staff that as a young planner. The whole reason that they needed a PUD is because it was B2 zoned at the time, which did not allow for outdoor display of materials. So their lumber, the snow blowers and lawnmowers in their garden center, they couldn't do that without it. Instead of rezoning part or all the parcel to B3, which would have allowed it because that brought in heavier uses, a PUD was done instead, and we've not touched it since. After the comprehensive rezoning of the city, it's no longer necessary. The uses are provided for. This PUD is no longer needed and can be repealed. So again, looking at the shopping center from overhead, you can see the dark roof there of the Home Depot behind the main building. And there it is. And a couple of other angles.
Still looks the same.
So for all of these, you'll see that in Title 13, which deals with planning unit developments, there is a list of what triggers you need to have in order to repeal the PUD. And this one to Roman numeral 2 applies, where this is just no longer necessary in light of property's underlying zoning. It also meets substantially completed because the building is built and it's a building of 1. So for all those reasons, we recommend approval.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tiso. Are there any questions for Eric from the commission? Seeing none, is there anyone here from the public who would like to speak on this? I do not. But thank you. All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any questions, comments, deliberations from the commission? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Collins. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Warren. Mr. Secretary, will you call roll?
Robin Allen,
Approved.
Marsha Collins.
Approve.
Khalib Horn,
Approve.
Claudia Jolin.
Approve.
Doug McCoach,
Approve.
Justin Williams, Eric Stevenson,
Approve.
Sean Davis.
Approve. Back to you, Mr. Tiso.
Next item on the agenda is City Council Bill number 24-0512, repeal of ordinance 01257 as amended by ordinance 02447, Reisterstown Road Plaza Shopping Center, Planned Unit Development number 111A in the 5th Councilmatic District. Eric Tisa will present.
Very well done.
And I know that you're wondering why. The A is there because PUDs were tracked in the BMZA office and they missed the number. That's all it is. Now you know. So we're back at Reisterstown Plaza.
Spent all
for-
last night thinking about that. Thank you.
It's the small miracles. But the rest of the periphery of the shopping center, I mentioned that the reason why the Home Depot PUD was needed was because of the B2 instead of B3. Well, B3 also is necessary for drive-throughs under the old zoning code. So the mall wanted to put in a variety of drive-through options. And so they created a PUD for the periphery for out parcels to do that. Almost all of them, with the exception of one, in this lower corner on Patterson Avenue, the farthest from Reisterstown Road in the 25 years, almost I've been here, has never been developed. We have reviewed and approved plans for 5 or 6 things in the intervening time, but nothing has landed. In any case, in today's zoning code, it can meet the requirements. You can see this is looking towards the south. Reisterstown Road is in the foreground. There's multiple drive-through establishments on the Reisterstown side and the near parcel on Patterson, but otherwise it is substantially built out. So again, it meets those two criteria where it's substantially completed and is no longer necessary because of the underlying zoning. And so staff is recommending approval of the repeal bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tiso. Questions for Eric from the commission? I would assume you're going to renew your comment? Okay, great. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Questions, comments, deliberations from the commission? I really wish every agenda item went this smoothly. Right.
You just cursed us.
Yeah, exactly. All right, with that, do we have a motion? All right, I take it back. I'm sorry.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Williams. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Horn. Mr. Secretary, will you call roll?
Robin Allen,
Approved.
Marcia Collins,
Approved.
Talib Horn, Claudia Jourdain,
Approved.
Doug McCoach, Justin Williams, Eric Stevenson, and Sean Davis.
Approve. All right. This one was,
3 minutes early.
Next item on the agenda, City Council Bill number 24-0513, repeal of ordinance 99-533 as amended by ordinance 16-569, the new Shiloh Baptist Church Planned Unit Development number 100 in the 7th Councilmatic District. Tiso will present.
And good afternoon again, carrying on for our triplet of PUD repeals. This one was created principally because the underlying zoning at the time required for elderly housing and a couple of the other uses that they were looking to do that the church was looking to build required conditional use by ordinance. There were also bulk density, and my microphone is not on, thank you, Ivor. At the time.
it wasn't me.
Yeah, it wasn't you this time. I'll start again. So at the time the PUD was being created, the underlying zoning would have required conditional uses by ordinance for the elderly housing and a couple other uses that New Shiloh was interested in doing. So they were going to be in a legislative authorization process anyway. On top of that, just based on the parcelization, they would have had some substantial bulk and setback concerns. For that reason, they created a PUD. All of the parcels, except for one, have been built out in the intervening time. It's now zoned R10 residential, I believe, R8 underneath of it. And so the final parcel, which we have reviewed development for, would be able to fit within the R8. So the PUD is actually holding them back. So for that reason, they would like to repeal the PUD. So here we are. You can see the kind of the round peaked roof of the church, and then moving up and to the top left corner is the extent of the PUD. And it's that, let's see if I can make the pointer work. I can't, but at the top end of that, where there's a bright gray parking lot looking area, that's the final site. So here it is looking from the south. So again, it meets the requirements since it's substantially completed and no longer necessary because of the underlying zoning, and so it can be repealed, which we support.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tiso. Are there any questions regarding this agenda item for Mr. Tiso? And this was proposed by the property owner to repeal this?
Yes, with their counsel.
Great. Is there no questions for Mr. Tiso from the commission? I open it up to the public. Is anybody here from the public wish to comment on this agenda item? Then I'll stand up at once. Okay, great.
Commissioners, John Parks with Bon Secours Community Works, here to answer any questions.
Great, thank you very much. All right, seeing no one from the public, we'll close the public hearing. Any questions, comments, deliberations from the commission?
I do have a quick question. Was this one of yours in 99?
No, I got here in the middle of 2000, so it just missed me.
But Eric did tell a story about how he's transferring some of the PUDs over, and he found some of your old reports.
Yeah,
That's
I was
great.
thinking that because that wasn't mine. I know that wasn't mine.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner McCoach. Mr. Secretary?
Robin Allen,
Approved.
Marcia Collins,
Approved.
Talib Horn,
On abstain, only because I think Bon Secours is a member party and it's ain't suing for Bon Secours, so just because.
Claudia Jolin,
Approve.
Doug McCoach,
Approve.
Justin Williams,
Approve.
Eric Stevenson, and Sean Davis.
Approve. All right, moving on to agenda item number 14.
14 is City Council Bill Number 24-0497, zoning conditional conversion of single-family dwelling units to 2 dwelling units in the R8 zoning district with variances at 1005 West Landvale Street, the 9th Councilmatic.
Before you go, Vice Chair Stevenson, we voted on the agenda item number 13 for the repeal of Bon Secours. You were asked, do you have a vote?
Approve.
Thank you. Okay, back to you, Mr. Tiso.
Okay, so this is a conversion bill to go from 1 to 2 units in the R8 zone. This is the parcel here highlighted in yellow. Looking at it, it's a little bit hard to see, but it's got the red dot on it there. It's in fairly poor condition. It's been vacant and boarded for quite a long time. So when we look at conversions, we have to look at the conversion standards, and it falls under conditional use. This is what you need to look at. I'm sure the commission is well familiar with all of the conditional use standards here. But looking into the conversion standards, so just looking by the numbers, in the R8 zone, 750 square feet of lot area is required per unit. And so it's got 2,200 square feet, which exceeds the 1,500 required. It meets that. For the second unit, 1 parking space is required per unit. It would require 1 parking space. They cannot meet that because the back of the property has all the interior of the block is an interblock park. And so they're landlocked, and our design requirements don't allow front-loading garages for attached structures. So they have to have that parking variance, which is already drafted into the bill. Looking at the inside requirements within the structure, it has to be 1,500 square feet or more in gross floor area. It's around 2,500 in total area. So it's relatively a larger building sitting on a relatively smaller parcel, if you want to look at it that way. For the 2 3-bedroom units that are proposed, it still exceeds the requirement of 1,250 square feet per unit for each of those. So it complies with that. So, but for that 1 parking variance that they cannot possibly meet, they would otherwise meet the zoning requirements, and so we're recommending approval.
Thank you very much. For the record, the Harlem Park Neighborhood Council also submitted a letter of support for this agenda item. Are there any questions or comments from the commission for Mr. Tiso on this?
Just a
Please.
comment for the commission. I would note that this, thank you for pointing out the letter of support. This proposal is in the Harlem Park neighborhood where we see a lot of requests for multi-unit conversions. We also hear from a lot of developers that say that it's necessary to put, 4 units in a lot of these houses to make it work. This is one of a few developers who's done an excellent job of working with the community and building successful projects in line with the community's wishes. And he's done several, so it seems to be working out very well for him. So just as an example for many people who say that it can't be done.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. It'd be great to have kind of an analysis of how many conversions, single-family conversions we've had, if we can. Like
We can do that.
Neighborhood by neighborhood, just to see where we're seeing a lot of this happen, and then so that we can also understand what are the impacts, or trash removal or whatever kind of things. So, okay. Are there any other questions or comments for Mr. Tiso? Seeing none, I open up to the public. Is there anyone here who would like to speak about this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Questions, comments, deliberations? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Vice Chair Stevenson. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Warren. Mr. Secretary, you call roll.
Robin Allen.
Approve.
Marcia Collins.
Approve.
Philippe Horn.
Approve.
Claudia Jolin.
Approve.
Doug McCoach. Approve. Justin Williams. Eric Stevenson. Approve. Sean Davis.
Approve.
The next item on the agenda is City Council Bill number 24-0514, zoning conditional use conversion of single-family dwelling units to 2 dwelling units in the R7 zoning district with variances at 3040 Barclay Street, the 14th Councilmatic District. Marie Anderson will present.
Hi, folks. Little mouthful. If you keep going like this, we're going to make it to happy hour, and I'm so excited.
That was our unstated goal.
Mr. Fenimore, are you here? Okay, great. Just checking. Mr. Fenimore is the petitioner, and this is for 3040 Barclay Street. I guess unlike the previous, yes. Director Ryer, would you like to share?
What was that?
Would you like to share your anecdote?
Yes, this is across from my old house, the first house I ever owned.
So he's very familiar with this property. It's at the north side of the block. To the east is Greenmount. To the north is the Waverly or 32nd Street Farmers Market. To the south is Barclay Elementary School. And unlike the previous property, it has been lived in. This has been Mr. Fenimore's primary residence. And he has recently moved just up the street and would like to convert this property into 2 units. It has been used as pretty much 2 units just without being codified. And so this would essentially just codify the use. Mr. Tiso just went over these. So the variance needed is about 36%. The first unit would be the main floor and upstairs. That would be at 1,400 square feet, and then the downstairs or basement unit would be at about 850. Because it is on the north side of the block, it does have access on all sides to the alleyway as well as windows. And parking is also not provided, but due to proximity to really great transit along Greenmount, hopefully it's not needed, as well as the commercial properties along Greenmount as well. There's a little bit different of a demand for parking. So the recommendation is approval?
Can you go back one slide?
Yes.
Okay. I think that last bullet point just popped up. Properties outside the residential parking permit?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so RPPs are not required in this area, and the demand on parking isn't over capacity.
I have to correct this.
If you can, we'll call on you. Okay. Anything further from you, Ms. Anderson?
Any questions?
Any questions for staff?
Make this a chap property for Director Ryer's proximity to his house for the personal significance.
Yeah,
Nice. Nice. For the record, I think we also have 2 letters of support in the looks page, one from the executive director of, or excuse me, the corresponding secretary for the executive committee of the Able Improvement Association, and also from Councilwoman Ramos. Please.
So typically, for the past couple of months, as we've been seeing these 2-unit conversions, owners are submitting plans. And that's helpful because we can get a sense of what's being provided. Mm-hmm. In this case, I gather the existing basement is already configured as an apartment. And so there's really no physical changes?
Yes,
Is that true?
and I think as you'll see in the staff report, one of our recommendations, it is proposed as 2-bedroom. I know it's up to the tenants, which is used as a bedroom, but our recommendation is to have 1 living space and then 1
Okay.
bedroom.
But so having plans isn't a condition for approval then?
Yeah. No.
For us, I mean, building plan, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do, but I think he's asking more generally.
No, we're on this.
The floor plans are not required for the bill itself, but as a practical requirement, we always ask for them because we have to address the square footage. Now, that having been said, depending on the applicant, if they're not working with an architect, they can't physically produce drawings. It's a gross square footage requirement, and we wrote it that way in the code on purpose because we know the exterior dimensions, and we can take an estimate at it to get close enough. So that's how we work at it if we don't have the physical floor plans.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Anderson? All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this agenda item? You're here in case any questions come up. Perfect. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Mr. Secretary, I'm sorry, I need a motion before we start calling. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Stevenson. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Williams. Mr. Secretary, will you call roll?
Robin Allen.
Approve.
Talia Collins.
Approve.
Talia Porn.
Approve.
Claudia Jolin.
Approve.
Doug McCoach.
Approve.
Justin Williams. Eric Stevenson.
Approve.
And Sean Davis.
Approve. All right, moving on to agenda item 16.
Item number 16, a long time coming, City Council Bill number 24-0504, zoning open space district for a conditional use cultural facility and parking lot with variances at C.C. Jackson Park and Library at 4910 Park Heights Avenue, 6th Councilmatic District. Ren Sullivan will present.
Thank you, Commissioners, or Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chair. So this request is City Council Bill 24-054. I'm Renata Southard. The petitioner is Councilperson Sharon Middleton Green, who is here today. On behalf of Baltimore City Department of Recreation Parks, also have representatives from the Enoch Pratt Free Library here, along with Recreation and Parks reps. The owner is Mayor and City Council. The planning district is Northwestern. The community planner is Carrie Nye. So this is a map of the area. The kind of gold-green outline is the major redevelopment area in the Park Heights neighborhood, Central Park Heights area. C.C. Jackson Park boundary is outlined in red, and then you have the library building and the proposed parking lot kind of at the southeast corner of the site. This is an aerial view of the park and the general area. The site itself, oops. I wonder if I can do this, is right about where the red box is located. So the library will be located on Park Heights Avenue at Woodland Avenue, which is that corner. There we have it bounded. The parking lot is the little green mark there. And then the entire site is undergoing a series of improvements. The new field is in. The pool and recreation center are at the top of the screen here. There's a building here that is not, within the park site. Let me back up again. Not within the park site. So the actual boundary of the park outlines this kind of, it's like a missing tooth. But that building is proposed to stay, and then the new library will be located at the corner. This is a master plan of the entire area. You can see that the plan has shifted slightly. Proposed library at the top right here, parking lot just below that. I wanted to include this slide. It's within the impact investment area work, so this work has been envisioned for a long time. The major redevelopment area is kind of at the center of this map, this colorful map here. And there's a ton of development happening around this site. So there's new multifamily senior housing, there's new multifamily housing proposed just to the south. There's also additional semi-detached and detached housing proposed in future phases of the neighboring sites. So it does conform to the plans. There was a 2006 Park Heights master plan that this commission adopted. There's also a 2009 Park Heights urban renewal plan that this aligns with. The 2009 Park Heights urban renewal plan was really thinking about providing housing and economic opportunities for Park Heights residents. The library, recreation center, and expanded park were envisioned to support these. And in that plan, there was a recommendation to expand the park by 7 acres. That's occurred now. The library being located in the park has been long anticipated for that location. The community engagement process has been very robust. It started in 2018 and has continued. It included focus groups, interviews, public meetings, all to incorporate resident feedback. So I'm going to run through this very quickly because Caitlin Audette went into more detail. But the plans must meet the approval standards. The plans for the proposed parking lot completed the review by the Urban Design and Architecture Advisory Panel on August 24th of 2023. They've been through the Site Plan Review Committee that was reviewed as part of the C.C. Jackson Park improvements back in November of 2022. Staff finds that the proposed parking lot is appropriate for the site given the other improvements being planned on the C.C. Jackson Park that would also be served by the parking facility. And just for context, this parking lot is requesting 47 spaces. A similar proposal at Reedburg Park proposed 100 spaces. So this is a little bit less than what's been approved in similar situations for OS zoning. So C.C. Jackson Park is zoned OS. The parking is conditional by ordinance. Cultural facilities are required to provide parking at a rate of 1 space per 4,000 gross square feet area. The proposed library use is required to provide only 5 spaces. Zoning permits up to 10, but as I stated, the 47 proposed parking spaces are for shared use by the library, park patrons, and these are inconsistent. They are consistent with the needs of staff and patrons at similar libraries throughout the city. The proposed parking lot will augment access to the library. Overflow parking is needed during off hours and for events and things like that. Impact. The proposed parking lot is intended to serve desirable uses for the neighborhood. The project is really one that's highly anticipated, and a lot of the community members are very excited about this. The project team really worked with us. The initial design that we saw had the parking lot, or the entrance of the library building facing the parking lot kind of at the back. And the project team did a great job of responding to staff comments and reorienting the entrance and entrance plaza so that it connects with both the parking lot and with the bus stop at the corner. So we've been really pleased to work with the project team. We felt that they addressed our comments really well. It's starting to feel like a really good urban asset instead of something that was more suburban in our initial review. As I mentioned, the project team has been engaging community since 2019. Typo there, please excuse that. Internal operations, while the project has taken a lot of years to complete, planning staff has not been disproportionately impacted, and resources devoted to this item are typical. My slide for the posting didn't wind up in this. It was
posted.
It was probably posted, and community groups were notified. We have 3 letters in support.
Yep.
And staff recommends approval.
Thank you very, very much, Ms. Sutherland.
Oh, okay.
Southard.
And we have 8 minutes before we can start the next item. So, and we do have a few.
Oh, yes, I know. I see Vice President Middleton here. I'm looking forward to calling on her.
Yeah.
But are there any questions for Ms. Southard? Yes. Vice Chair Stevenson.
Thank you, Ron. My question is, how did these sites come to be zoned open space? Looking at the plat map and reading the staff report, it sounds like there was once housing there.
That's correct. They, I believe, were formerly R6. So as part of the park planning process, they're in the process of being consolidated now, and they were zoned to match the existing park.
So they're owned, although they're owned by mayor and city council, they're under the stewardship of Recreation and Parks, BCRP, correct?
So the main park parcel, and this is a little bit outside my purview. This is between the Parks Department and Housing, and maybe my colleague can answer this with more specificity. The major redevelopment area project was managed by Department of Housing and Community Development. So a lot of the acquisition put those properties into their care, and they were in charge of land management. Now with the consolidation process, they are being transferred to Rec and Parks, but we're kind of in the middle of that. Yeah, it takes time for the lots to be transferred over. I hope that answers your question.
Does that answer your question, Vice Chair Stevens?
It does. Just as a comment, whenever we see open space being repurposed for parking, that catches my attention. But understanding the history of this site and the context, as well as the letter from Rec and Parks, which was illuminating. So I think I understand.
Great. Are there any other questions for Ms. Southard? Thank you very much, Ren. Vice President Middleton, it's great to see you here. We don't see you here as often as I'd like.
Busy, busy, busy. In fact, this is a little break from campaign season. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Sharon Green Middleton, Vice President of the City Council and representative of the 6th Council District, going on finishing up my 17th year as the representative of the 6th District, and hopefully going into my 5th term, and presently the longest serving elected official in City Hall. All that to say, everyone knows my advocacy for my district, especially Park Heights, and I was sitting here just kind of reminiscing when I first came into office in 2007, and the first piece of property that was built and did my first ribbon cutting for was the Zeta Center, and still the most active adult center in the entire city because of that partnership with the Zeta sorority, and just showing and at serving since I started too on the Commission of Aging. And now with this mayor also making that a cabinet level position on his cabinet, just really sets a mark on how Park Heights is really finally progressing, and just the development, and it just shows how long it takes for things to happen in that community, and just being a part of that complete renaissance is just really heartfelt, and just really shows the job of what a council member should be doing and continues to do. And I say all that because also when I first started in that community, and where the area where this library is going to take place, where C.C. Jackson Rec Center is, and that renovation, where the big field, that the Cal Ripken field that was with a partnership with the Ravens organization as well. Everything that's taking place in that community is about partnerships, and that has always been, what I continue to push, and especially the partnerships between agencies. And I think this is kind of a example of how important it is for agencies to use this as an example of how you need to partner with, land use. Housing and Rec and Parks are the partners in this. And Deputy Mayor Williams and Director Ryder know how I just have continued to just push. And I also have memories of when I started on the council too, and being in Park Heights, and another advocacy of mine was trying to stop the proliferation of liquor stores. And that has also been a successful movement in that area. So successful that some of the advocacy is being replicated around the entire city. I also had this vision of, in this very set area, that there had to be a space. We know that libraries have changed over the years, and there had to be a space that is missing in Park Heights that we needed for a special type of library. There has not been a new library in the entire city in 17 years. And I keep saying 17 years because that's how long it's been that I've also been a council person. So this dream of the library, I know our advocacy also in trying to not have as many parking spaces in places that we're building, but this is truly a need there because that whole complete area is going to be and continues to be the hub of everything that's taking place in the whole, not just the southern part of Park Heights, I'm saying the Park Heights and Pimlico racetrack, just the whole thing. So that parking lot is not just going to be used for parking for the library, it's other things that are in that area. It's green space where they're going to also introduce the environment, the housing that's coming up around there, that's going to be a hub for that space too. It's ironic that it's like 3 senior buildings that are basically just about filled to capacity. Some of them already are, that they can walk there, but the other parts of the community will need space to drive there. There's a pool there, the things that are going on in that big field. They have that little small parking lot on the side where West Garrison is located, and it's been a problem since that has started. And I think it's just holding up more opportunities for people to come in that particular neighborhood. So I'm here to just really kind of give you a verbal picture of the need for these parking spaces. And as I said, that lot is going to be, when the library is closed and they have activities and things in the community, the lot's going to be designed where it can be used for other activities as well. So I'm here in support. We also have Park Heights Renaissance that I sure would like to say a few words as well, that has been they represent the entire community, have community meetings. They have just continually talked about the library and everything else that's going to be happening there. And I'll stop there because I don't want to take their thunder, but if you have any other questions for me before I sit down.
Thank you very much for your perseverance in this area and your leadership. They're greatly appreciated. And I mean, obviously the C.C. Jackson Rec Center and Park are an anchor in this part of Park Heights, and it's wonderful to see that anchor is being added to with the library and the necessary parking to serve that and other community needs. So are there any questions for Vice President Middleton?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to speak on this agenda item?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Yolanda Jiggis. I'm the CEO of Park Heights Renaissance. So don't want to take a lot of time, but do want to express the excitement and energy that is really staring up in the community about this complex with the C.C. Jackson expansion and the new library. It is, as Councilwoman Middleton stated, we envision it to not only be a library, but a new resource center. We've worked very closely with the CEO of the library and her team over the last 3 years to really advocate, to fundraise, and we've done numerous community engagement exercises and activities around this library. And I just want to say for the record that the parking lot is one that the community is over and over and over talking about. They're in favor of that, and it will be a huge compliment to the major redevelopment area. Not only is development, first phase of development completed for Woodland Gardens 1 and 2, the 17 acres project is underway right now that will not only have senior and multifamily housing, but it would also have home ownership parcels there as well. And across the street, to kind of close out that part of the corridor, the other parcels have been awarded. They will include, one will include retail. And so again, this parking lot will be essential to make sure that there's accessibility for older adults and disabled that come into that area. So again, we're just excited. We see no concerns from the community. This fits in and aligns with the strategy to complete that 62 acres of the major redevelopment area.
You've got a lot going on.
We do.
Which is
We're
great.
very excited.
It's been
Just came
so
from the
long coming.
signing of the PIMLICO. So we are very excited about all that's happening, and we can't wait for this library. And I'll also add, I'm speaking on behalf of Park Heights Renaissance, but speaking personally as well, I grew up in the libraries in Park Heights. Probably saved me from any different direction that my life could have gone. So those libraries are essential. We're looking forward to our students, families, and parents and visitors utilizing that as we build the next destination location in Park Heights.
For the record, just so you know, we received both your letter of support as well as a letter of support from the NHP Foundation.
Right.
And finally, the Gillis Memorial Christian Community Church. So I just want to make sure that gets on the record. But thank you again. Are there any questions for Ms. Jiggets?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else here who would like to speak on this agenda item? Please, come on up.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Tracy Eastep from the Mayor's Office of African American Male Engagement, here to extend our support for the parking lot in Park Heights for the library. Our administrative office and programming office is in a complex of 4910 Park Heights Avenue. Our youth and our staff currently collaborate with the Recreation Center, and having a library directly across the street from us is very exciting. We currently take our participants downtown to the library. So having somewhere where they can go and expand their knowledge and cultural enrichment is very exciting for us. So I just want to thank you for this opportunity and for us to come and give our support for the library.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the speaker? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else here who would like to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any questions, comments, or deliberations from the commission? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Collins. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Warren. Did Marcia beat you to the punch? Okay. Mr. Secretary, will you call roll?
Robin Allen.
Approved.
Marcia Collins.
Approve.
Talib Horn.
Approve.
Claudia Jolin.
Approve.
Doug McCoach.
Approve.
Justin Williams.
Approve.
Eric Stevenson.
Approve.
And Sean Davis.
Approve. Congratulations. Great. All right, agenda item number 17, Mr. Secretary.
Number 17 is a minor change in final design approval for the Poppleton PUD number 136 at 999 West Saratoga Street, also known as 231 North Schroeder Street, and the 9th Councilmatic District. Renata Sutherland will present.
Ms. Southern,
Good afternoon. Thank you.
it's like you're teaming up the planning staff for these back-to-back presentations. Very well done. Very well done. Very well done.
All right. This item is a request for minor change in final design approval for Poppleton PUD number 136. The address is currently 231 North Schroeder Street, and it will be known as 999 West Saratoga. I'm Renata Southard. Petitioner is La Cité Inc. The owner is the same. This is within the Southwest Planning Area Planning District, and the community planner is Nick Shupin. This is an outline of the planned unit development area. The project site, Phase 1B, is at the, let me see if I can get there, right here. Just below it is the Phase 1A, so these two parcels here have been completed. And then there's a future phase being planned, Phase 2, on the western side of the PUD. This is also within the Poppleton URP area, so the yellow line is the outline of the URP. I failed to put the site on here, but I'll just point it out real quick. It is right in this region here. This is Greater Model Park, and then there's an existing school. This is an aerial view looking to the north. The site is outlined in red there. An aerial view from the east looking to the west. From the south, these two projects are the Phase 1A projects that were built in previous years. Route 40 is here, MLK is on the right on this one. This is North Fremont Avenue. And then Schroeder Street here, running kind of north-south here. And then one final view to the west. This is, let's see if I can get this to work. West Saratoga Street is along this edge. So it's at the corner of West Saratoga and North Schroeder, and then on the back is Amity Street. And then one final view, aerial looking directly down. This is the development plan submitted by the project team. Just please note that north is rotated now, so Saratoga Street is at the right of the screen and Schroeder Street is at the top of the screen. You can see that there are, whoops, keep doing that. There is parking on the Amity Street side. The entrance is on the Amity Street side. There are two levels of parking in this proposed plan, and then those are wrapped by apartment units. Again, this is within the impact investment area. It's located at number, if you can see that, number 7 right there at the top. So this has been called out as new development or expected development in the future. So I'm going to give you a very brief, abbreviated history. This property has a very long history, but I think that there are a couple important points that I wanted to cover in this presentation. This PUD was originally established in 1975, so a long time ago. The Poppleton was designated as a federal empowerment zone in 1995, so 20 years after the PUD was established. City Council Bills 06-559, 0560, and 0561 were introduced to allow for an amended URP, rezoning some properties, and then updating the PUD. So it established a new PUD in 2007. The URP has been amended several times, I think 5 in total since then. The last amendment was in 2022. That bill reauthorized the acquisition of properties within the project area. It extended the life of the URP. It removed certain properties from the list, and it waived certain content and procedural requirements. It made certain provisions of the ordinance severable, among other things. So in staff's analysis, we looked at conformity to the PUD intent. So the increase in height was weighed against the goals of the Poppleton PUD. Those goals include restoring Poppleton's commercial districts, preserving historic structures, increasing home ownership, and dispersing concentrations of poverty. And I'll note that the preserving historic structures piece of this it's a little bit tricky because so much of the property within this PUD has been destroyed or demolished. So that one's always a little, it gives us a little pause. The plan envisioned a complete network of open spaces and parks ranging from completely public to semi-public and private spaces. There was a plan that suggested strategies including building on investments and assets, achieving a greater mix of incomes, and supporting existing homeowners. The minor change requested is for a 9.9 increase in the allowable height. The PUD calls out 68 feet or 5 stories. The roof height of the proposed building is 74'9". Planning staff noted that the parapet is above the roof height. However, in the zoning code, there are some measurement methodologies that allow for parapets to be taller than the allowed height to screen certain mechanical equipment. So that was part of this request. The proposed building height is similar to neighboring buildings at the south edge, those Phase 1A buildings that I mentioned. However, it's taller than the Excel Academy at Francis M. Wood High School to the west, and to the east is Poe Homes. So it's taller than both of those buildings. The parcel to the north is currently a vacant lot. The site is zoned R9, so if the PUD doesn't specify, we rely on the underlying zoning. R9 uses a floor area ratio and requires 550 square feet of lot area per unit. Because the PUD isn't specific about where the density is, we go with the general density. So for our purposes, the underlying zoning, as long as the uses are okay, then the density is called out by the PUD. So the PUD specifies a maximum of about 3 million square feet, cumulative total development throughout. This proposed development has FAR of about 170,000 square feet, bringing the total constructed to about 500,000 square feet, or plus or minus 16% of the total allowed of the buildable PUD. The proposed development includes 165 dwelling units. The PUD calls out a maximum total of about 1,800 dwelling units. So the total constructed portion of the PUD would be 422 dwelling units upon completion of this building, or about 23%. So in our analysis, we looked at Article 32 zoning. PUDs are enabled to encourage flexibility in development of land and in the design of structures. The trade-off is so that there can be a more cohesive and efficient use of land, facilitate more effective arrangement of land uses, et cetera. So that's the purpose for PUDs. Per the code, the Planning Commission may approve a minor change to the PUD, and we've got those listed here. Basically, anything that's not a major change is a minor change. The major change is triggered at a 10% increase of the height, which the 9.9% is below that. In our consideration, staff reviewed the proposal and found that the proposed minor changes for an increase of 9.9% in building height, the proposed development is compliant with the general intent of the PUD and will meet the requirements of the PUD ordinance. Urban renewal plan, the project is compatible with the uses and the intent of the urban renewal plan. The development plan of Phase 1B, which is the building that is in question today, was reviewed and approved by the Site Plan Review Committee on March 13th of this year. And the proposed development was reviewed and approved by UDAP on April 11th, 2024. These are the elevations. North is at the top, west is at the bottom. And south, again, at the top, and east at the bottom. You can see there's that parking garage entrance. I can get there. Can't quite get there. Right. Well, you can. Right there. These are the shiny architectural renderings of the building. I wanted to include some additional project information here just because I think it's important for the context. So this is new age-restricted senior housing. The building height is, again, just below 75 feet. It's 7 stories. It's 165 apartment units. It includes resident amenity space at the ground floor. The intent there was to activate the first floor of the building and make it a vibrant space. There are 51 structured parking spaces on 2 levels that are wrapped by those apartment units, and then there's additional ground level landscaping and some elevated courtyards above, and then some additional views of the building. So in our analysis, we also looked at equity. Staff felt that neighbors had voiced concerns about the height of the building and the general pace of construction within the PUD. So just some additional context, the PUD started in 2007 or was officially adopted in 2007. The first building I think was delivered in 2015. So the community has seen a lot of vacant lots for a lot of decades at this point. The construction has taken a lot longer than anticipated based on the original development plans. Additionally, the community questioned whether residents who were displaced by the creation of the PUD and the subsequent land assembly process will be invited back as residents of the new building. It should be noted that land assembly process relocated all but one homeowner within the PUD footprint. The new development would create an age-restricted senior housing on a lot that has been vacant for several years. The increase in height is intended to maximize the number of units on the site. If the development team invites seniors from Poppleton, Poe Homes, and those who have been displaced by the relocation required for acquisition, they have an opportunity to directly address a pattern of inequity here. But this has not been agreed upon to the best of planning staff's knowledge. This was a question from the community. I thought it was important to include it here in the equity impact statement. Engagement, the community has been engaged. The Baltimore City Department of Housing and Community Development, I noted that this was in the impact investment area. So there was a relaunch of that work with the community conversations that started in 2022. And one workshop on October 13th invited the community to discuss generally development throughout the PUD. And this project came up as well as the Phase 2 projects. So there was a conversation with DHCD. It's been ongoing. DHCD has been facilitating. Additionally, the development team met with the neighborhood to review the proposed design for this more specific site, not just the general PUD, but the design team previewed the designs with the neighborhood to planning staff's knowledge before they came to the Urban Design and Architecture Advisory Panel on April 11th, 2024. While this project has taken a long time to complete, planning staff has not been disproportionately impacted, and resources devoted to this item are typical of other PUD actions. The item was properly posted, community groups were notified, staff recommends approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Ren. Are there any questions for Ms. Southard? Yes, Vice Chair Stevenson.
Thanks, Ren. Is this the first time that we're seeing a final design, or was there a previous final design approved? I'm trying to figure out what established the previous height.
I'm going to defer to my colleague as the PUD manager.
So for the overall development plan, it was initialized with maximum heights parcel by parcel throughout. So that's the firm established height. Not all PUDs have that. And so that's where, when we're looking at the trigger standards for what is a minor versus a major, that plus 10% or minus 25% has to have something to be measured off of, unless it's silent and that doesn't apply. In this case, there are heights established in the plan.
You mentioned that the proposed height of the building is similar to the previously built buildings to the south. As you move from those buildings to this site, you're going uphill. So how does I think the top of this building is around 175 elevation or something like that. How does that compare to the existing building?
It will feel taller.
Okay. Interesting note about the parapet not being included in the roof elevation. It says specifically that the parapet is not excluded only to the extent that it's necessary to screen the rooftop equipment. So has that been demonstrated?
Correct. So I don't know that there was a sightline diagram included with the plans. We do have the design team here
Sure. And additionally, on the technical side, is there also an exception for elevator shafts?
Generally under zoning, yes.
Generally, under zoning, elevator shafts aren't considered the part of the building height?
Correct. There are a number of exclusions. I don't happen to have the zoning code open in front of me, but things like elevator shafts, stair access covers, rooftop mechanicals. There's a list of about 10 or 15 things that you would expect to find on the roof of a building.
Thank you.
So follow up on that real quickly. If I don't have a parapet wall, I'm going to have some other means of safety for people on the roof, correct?
Correct.
If it wasn't a parapet wall, it would be a railing, I would assume, or some other form of safety protection?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that the parapet may be associated with the mechanical equipment in terms of height determination, but there's going to have to be something there for somebody that doesn't fall off the roof.
Absolutely. It's just the question is whether it should count towards the total height of the building or not.
Correct. And just for your knowledge, it's Article 32, Title 15-301 calls out the measurement methodologies and can inform which things are included or excluded and kind of the requirements of each. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the commission for Ms. Southard? Thank you very much, Ren.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here from the public who would like to speak on this item? Please, come, sir, you have to come up to the stand. Tell us your name.
My name's Alfredo Fuchs.
Nope, hold it. You gotta get it to the microphone, so everything's being recorded and whatnot.
Thank you. My name is Alfredo Fuchs. I am resident, 42 South Poppleton. I'm also the founder of a startup company, 211 Brands LLC, that I'm proud to bring to the beautiful community of Southwest Baltimore. So the reason that I am here and wanted to speak is because we just moved in January the 5th. We're getting ourselves acclimated to this wonderful city and community, and we are interested in all the wonderful things that are going on, especially as I look to establish my business in the community. So I just wanted to come in, experience what it was, see what everything is, and in hopes of getting familiar with things in the community. So I just wanted to make sure that someone from the community that is speaking on these things and that may sometimes work against you guys in the best interest of our community was here to actually, answer any questions or to let you know how we truly feel about it, and not just have someone that say they came and spoke with us, then we say we show up and we don't. So on behalf of Southwest, Mr. Fuchs and 211 Brands will probably be attending a lot of meetings that include the Southwest District. Regarding this potential thing, we agree, we approve. Some of the seniors was concerned about the parking, and that's very big in our community. We love the fact that this building is coming with its own parking garage. We recommend that any building trying to come over there in the Southwest District to do business do consider themselves with their own garages. So outside of that, everything that I saw here today, I even took a recording to take back to the board because I'm a part of the committees as well. I'm going to let them listen to the questions that was answered, and I took some pictures of everything. I'm going to lay it out for them to view. But outside of that, we're very happy with the process forward. Continue the great work. Continue to bring exciting projects and businesses and community to our neighborhood. We welcome it all. And whatever we can do to be of assistance, the real community members there are on your side. We welcome this, and this is wonderful, especially for the seniors. I love what we're seeing.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Welcome to Baltimore.
Thank you very much.
And just for the record, although I'm sure your videography is phenomenal, it is also being videotaped on Charm City TV.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, you guys enjoy your day. I think that was all on our list for today. I just wanted to be here to represent the Southwest District 9 on their behalf.
Yes, Commissioner Collins.
I didn't have a question, but I just want to thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
You're a new member of our community, and I'm so impressed that you're already well-established in your community. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I'm very humbled, and it's an honor, and whatever I can do, that's what I'm here for. You guys enjoy your day.
Hold on, before you leave, I just want to make sure, anybody else have any other questions or comments for the speaker? Yes, Commissioner Allen.
What does your company do?
211 Brands. I'm actually wearing one of my products. I'm in the leather goods and accessories and clothing. I'm planning to.
All right, no advertisement.
Sorry about that. I'm also the proud parent of alumni graduate from Towson, Miss Katarina Burton. She's a two-time Grammy Award-winning opera singer. So we deliberately chose the area to call home. I'm deliberately choosing the area to grow and build my business. I'm doing this for my children so my daughter can have her own products as she's exploring. She's currently traveling all over the world. So, you know, being here, I wanted to focus on the youth. So I'm trying to build a fulfillment center and put my machinery in and provide jobs for the 14 to 18-year-olds. 2 shifts, let them work 4-hour work days. It's $15 an hour. Their attention spans are short anyway. But I figured that was a path to help them and create jobs in our community. So I just got here January. I'm working hard to clean up that community. I've got myself on every board possible there. I'm working hard to get established and get to know everyone, get to know all the most important people that I need, including the community. I'm out every day cleaning up the community. So if you see any beautification, because the city's short-staffed, so we understand that. But I own properties in Tampa and other places, and I'm in HOAs. And some of my properties are half a block. So me just coming out there with my own tools and cleaning it up, that's just me locking in for the day and saying, hey, if I was down in Tampa, you know, in an HOA gated community, I'm responsible for what it looks like. So I'm just trying to be the image and the light that they see and just go out there every week, every day, put the work in. I work with the school, McHenry School. They allow me to dump the community rubbish there. I keep the back of that cleaned up for them. I want to make sure the kids have that safety zone. It's good when you can see the kids walk out on your street and play in the middle of the street and not worry about gunfire. I sat out on the back of my porch at night since I've been there. And I sat out till 1 o'clock 2 nights ago, and I told my wife, I said, oh my God, you wouldn't believe I was in Baltimore City, downtown at that. No gunfire, no nothing, it was just peace. So we have to keep that going. And every one of you guys that show up here with your input, with your voices, representing your community, don't worry about the fight you're getting in your community, because the ones that are showing up here, this is the community, and this is what we're building. And so every last one of you, keep showing up. Keep making sure that you see the path, you see the vision, because it's not our future we're building for. We're building for our children and our grandchildren. So right now, if you're 40 like me, I'm building for my grandchildren. My kids don't want to be what I'm doing because I'm chasing my dreams too. So they're following theirs. Luckily, my daughter's a Grammy Award-winning opera singer. Okay? But for my grandkids, they need that role model. They need that inspiration. We need to provide those safe zones. We need to provide those communities. And doing this is what it takes. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much. And that's a damn fine bag, by the way.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this agenda item? Please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Paulette Curl. I'm the president of the Terrace, and I'm District 11 and District 9. So we have been waiting for this project to be finished for so long. You know, because our community asked for it. And he did a lot of good things in our community as far as getting rid of the drug dealers when Stroller Street cleaned it up. Now I can walk down Stroller Street, walk down Popperton with my head up, not looking, turning my head this way, that way, or looking behind me. So the community is very eager for this project to move forward. It's been hindering the community for a long time, and it's time to see what it's going to look like. And we tired of waiting. So we need this to happen, and a lot of people in our community are very excited, and they can't wait. It is going to be affordable homes.
Affordable senior homes.
Yes, senior homes for seniors as well. And we approved it.
So should we?
Yes, you should. Of course you should. So we are excited and we cannot wait. And the seniors in our building on Saratoga, you know, they don't have washing machines and dryers. So it was very hectic for them during the COVID time, you know, because everybody using the same washing machines and dryer. Well, these will have double stacks. Each unit will have their own washer and dryer. So that is a blessing. And I appreciate y'all and thank you all.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the speaker? Yep, you gotta come on back. Are there any questions for the speaker? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this agenda item?
Yes. Thank you. How you guys doing?
Good.
All right, my name is Robert Lee. I have a store called Juice Lab. I have one in Federal Hill, 1035 Light Street. And I used to have one up in the Hollis Market area, right by the market. I was on the outside of the market. I've been in that area for a long time. I owned a carryout at Baltimore, Carrollton. I actually owned a liquor store there next to the carryout. I owned a jazz restaurant. I owned a clothing store. I owned another restaurant around the corner directly across from the market. So I'm one of the ones who've been there for a long time. And I could tell you, Poppleton, that was the engine that drove Baltimore Street. All the people came and shopped at those stores. Man, I've been there for a long, I'm gonna date myself. If you guys ever saw the movie Beauty Shop, it had, if you look at that movie and you look at Baltimore Street, there wasn't no actors. All those buildings that were thriving, all those people walking up and down, that was Baltimore Street, which was driven by Poppleton. Once, man, it seemed like overnight, our middle class in Poppleton was gone. Those houses were empty. Man, I could tell you, I lost my shirt on Baltimore Street once the Poppleton community, it's hard to explain. Like one day you come in, you see children running around, you see people shopping, and then the next you got gangs. You got people scared to come out. A lot of those houses in Poppleton where families like us, I come from a two-parent household, mother, father, you know, after they got old, the family house was left to us. It was always a house home. No matter what you did, you could always come back home. That was Poppleton. Now that was gone. We had empty after empty after empty. We had the gangs come in. They were using houses that I'd known people there for years that became like havens for dog fighting in one. You had all this stuff. We had our children early in the morning walking through vacant homes, being assaulted, trying to get to the elementary school. I met these guys right here. I had my own company. My father died and left me this company, and that's all I knew was construction. I went to the big places because I wanted to put juice labs in where all the other people had juice labs. Towson, I wanted to put them all over. Came to these guys, man, and told them what I wanted to do there in Poppleton because I knew what Poppleton was. And man, they took me into this big giant space, about twice as big as this, and said, here, build a juice lab. Now, I couldn't go anywhere else with guys like, they said came from New York, came from Dallas, these guys believe in me because I had a little juice lab store. These cats used to come in here and get smoothie bowls, man, juices and all that. And back when the community thought it was only a novelty store. And we all know before the pandemic, we were trying to get healthy, strengthen our immune system so we didn't have to get all these crazy shots. These guys gave me an opportunity. I'm telling you, if you guys could leave right here now and go look at that building at Center West, that first floor, man, it's phenomenal. I'm gonna have TVs. You guys are gonna be there once I open it, because I guarantee you will come and see what they let me do without having to pull out tape measure, $50 a square foot, all that. They just said, dude, if you can do it, do it. Now, why would we get rid of people like that come in that neighborhood? That place was under siege, man. Honestly, I was the vice president of the Southwest Partnership for 7 years. Nobody knew. I was chair of public safety for 7 years. Nobody never even knew. Because it wasn't about trying to be out here saying, look at me. It was trying to keep our community safe, our children's sake, and our elderly. We used to get out here with boots, gloves, we're picking up needles. I didn't have no picture of people taking a picture of me, sending it to you guys, letting you guys know what I was trying to do. We had to do that. We actually, when the drug dealers came in, instead of going down there and arguing with them, every time they threw trash down, we picked it up because it was a war of attrition. We already knew we were going to win. At some point in time, we put a trash can down. They started putting trash in there because they just got tired of what's coming down. Because we all know if you ride through a neighborhood and you see high grass and trash, that's a perfect place to come and start your crime and use your time somewhere and doing something wrong. So Poppleton, to me, is a tragedy because some of these people in these rooms knew what had happened to Poppleton. Some of these people in this room right now could have stopped it. So we let people come in here that's going to take us to the future, not live in the past, because I'm mad because we had a great past. But some of the people at Poppleton look the other way, and the only reason we're taking up your time today, because they got a dirty little secret. The secret is they allowed Poppleton to go there. So when somebody comes in now and want to fix Poppleton up, that secret will be exposed that they fell asleep at the wheel. I lost everything. The community leaders rolled out. You left all those abandoned houses right there in that neighborhood. When these guys come in, now people mad. Why? There's no more drug dealing on that corner, as Ms. Paulette say. I'm on that corner every day. Ride down at that intersection. You'll see coming soon Juice Lake. There's no crime. People are actually jogging. I saw people walking down there in a double stroller. That would have never happened. So we're going in the right direction where we need to go. And we should not be here taking up your time going over some crazy stuff that we all know should not be happening. So I'm just here to let you guys know I'm proud of Poppleton. I know it's coming back. We built the rec center. The kids had that rec center for 20 years. You know what they were using it for? Campaign. When people wanted to do a campaign, that was their campaign office. They closed the rec center down. Kids had nowhere to go swim, nowhere to play. People will have you to believe that they built this sprawling rec center. We donated all this money. Now, one day I walked down there and I saw the rec center and I said, why is this rec center boarded up? The answer was 15 years ago. 15 freaking years ago, that rec center stayed empty. These kids today had nowhere to go. Now, the rec center is being built and everybody's coming out of the woodworks saying we helped build this. It was just me walking down Poppleton as chair of public safety, wondering why the rec center wasn't open. So what I'm saying, man, we need to stop this. We're all adults. These guys ain't going nowhere. We're gonna build a sprawling community there where everybody can come. You guys can come. I can come, you can come. And we're gonna have a great time building it. So I just think we should stop that, let these guys build. Other guys can come build. I see a lot of black developers in here that building stuff as we're talking today. That's what Poppleton was. It wasn't just one person mad with everything. It was a whole community, and that's where we're trying to go back. So I like to thank you guys for allowing me to stand up here and tell you a little bit about the real Poppleton that I know. Poppleton that, dude, I'm pulling weeds out of the sidewalk today and they're growing back tomorrow. I'm pulling that same weed the next day because we need to show people that Poppleton ain't balled up, thrown in the corner. Poppleton is thriving. So thank you guys.
Thank you
each
very
and every
much.
last one of you. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the speaker? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this agenda item?
Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, kids, if any in here. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the God of my understanding for having me here today. And I want to speak on behalf of Dan and what he's done for me over at Powerton. You know, I'm what you consider hood. Yeah, I come from the hood. I was born and raised 3 blocks up, 500 block of Stroder Street. And yeah, come out of School of Hard Knocks, my story. 2010, I got myself right, clean, and I lived at Perkins for 10 years. And once they was closing it down, John Hopkins bought Perkins. They was telling us to move. I was allowed to. They would help you go out and try to find housing if you did, you know, if you needed be. But I told them I could make it on my own. And at first, I looked up a couple places. My fiance told me about Stroder. It was a new building. I said, Stroder, that's my hood. That's where I come from, a couple blocks up. And when I came, and when I asked them, did I qualify? They say, sure you qualify. Now, Section 8. And he gave me an opportunity. I've been there 4 years now, right? We had our ups and downs, had kids coming from parents that moved out, still had the code, coming, destroying our building with fire alarm, you know, waking us 1, 2 in the morning. We coming downstairs and have to go outside. All of this for false alarm. And this went on for quite some time. Tredan got on top of it. He got a bunch of good maintenance men. He got a bunch of good staff in the office and then around there. And they got on top of the situation, man. And anytime I was there, if he needed me, I made sure I went down, you know, because that's where I live at, rest my head, you know. And I wanted to make sure that it was all right, safe. I Palmerton all my life, and never imagined that I would get the opportunity to live in a place like that. And he gave me, along with other 20% of Section 8, or, you know, however they want to categorize us, yeah, he gave us the chance to live in that nice building and take care of it. And I don't understand. One thing I do know, change is constant. So he's bringing something to the area that we hadn't have. I know that hood. I lived there. I'm 66 years old, and I grew up around it, and I know how it was. And by those buildings being there, I mean, even with the poor homes around there, the crime rate, the shootings, it's low, I mean, to a minimum. You know, Amity Street, Edgar Allan Poe house, been there only forever. All that. And people could come up and down the street and walk and feel comfortable about that. And I'm just saying to you people, yes, great job. And, you know, I would just like you all to allow him to continue doing what he do in that community and making it a better place for everybody to live, you know. I know it's a lot of people, like I said, I grew up 3 blocks up the street and they've been there for years, but change is constant, especially a good change. And I just wanted to let y'all know that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before you leave, before you leave, tell us your name for the record.
Oh, excuse me. My name is Timothy Bracy, Bracy.
Thank you, Mr. Bracy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this agenda item?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
So I am Dan, the person you've been hearing about. My name is Dan Bythewood, actually. So I wanted to have the opportunity to talk to you guys just for a moment. I know you've been here for a long time, and give you a chance to ask me questions, but also to clarify a few items. As you heard from Councilwoman Middleton, it took her 17 years in her development. We're at year 17. It's the same thing in all large-scale development. There's nothing that's different between us and them. But to rectify some of the items, as you heard, we actually doubled all of the city's inclusionary housing within 2 buildings. That was what we've actually done as a fact. Additionally, you end up hearing from people who are on Section 8. So no, I did not displace everyone. People have moved back. People moved back after they didn't even live there for decades. So what we've created was a neighborhood that is amazing. So Tim lived next to 5 guys from Saudi. And I envisioned Tim probably never in his wildest dreams believed he was going to live next to people from Saudi Arabia. The opportunities of mixing the 80-20 model from the HUD perspective and or from the city of Baltimore perspective really allows for the transformation. And you heard from Mr. Lee that they're looking for economic growth. You have to have people that have disposable income to make your commercial thrive. So what we really focused on was the repositioning of an entire neighborhood that we have. Our 14 acres in, yes, we did entitle 3.2 million square feet. Thank you, Ren. It's 3.197 million. No. But with that being said, also, a lot of the time lag in our development, the city of Baltimore still to today doesn't own 100% of the property. So in understanding that, I can't build on things that the city doesn't even own. So just to rectify the timeline issue, that when you look at the timeline, the majority of the time that we've been on pause, it's because the city didn't actually physically own the property for us to do anything with. And when your holes in the donut and you're building curb to curb, you can't build curb to curb with holes in the donut. As you heard, there's lots of support. There's tons more support in the room from the commercial side. But what I wanted to do was to provide you guys with support. So when we originally came, we created the largest amount of support that's ever been done in the city of Baltimore's history. I'm going to give it to Ren, but here's all your support. You have current support from this current time, plus our historic support. There are over 1,000 letters of support from people that have lived in Poppleton, live in Poppleton now, and more. So that is for yours to keep. So you guys can read through. It has addresses. It's not fabricated. Those are all from people that actually are here from Baltimore City. So, we wanted to come and show you guys what this really looks like for us, and what we've done. Deputy Mayor, we expect you to take that home with you and do lots of nighttime reading tonight. But we want to just stand here. We've done lots of things, historic as well. We were the ones who supported the Edgar Allan Poe House and Museum for their original festival. That was an idea that came up through RECA. We funded that. We brought Wells Fargo to put another $400,000. So we are the largest reason they have had the largest donations in the history of Edgar Allan Poe House and Museum. The list goes on. I could stand here for the next day and talk to you, which I will not. But please, you want to say anything, Ian? This is my partner, Ian.
So my name is Ian Arias. I'm also one of the co-founders of La Cité, and grew up in South Central LA and came to New York for grad school. And then I wanted to do development. And 2001, Dan and I started this company. We came down here, started looking at the site and decided, this is what it takes to bring a neighborhood back, then that's what we're gonna do. And we've stayed. So just wanted to let you guys know that.
Over
there's some folks.
$140 million, like we've plowed in tons of money into Poppleton. As you guys saw the press releases, we signed the deal with Ryan Homes, 180 single-family homes. So that is a done deal in the bag. We're talking not about single-family today, we're talking about another multifamily building. But when you look at the amount and the velocity, when the city actually acquired things, we were able to make significant progress and significant moves forward. So we just wanted to have the opportunity to talk to you guys today.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions for the speakers? Yes, Commissioner Stevenson, Vice Chair Stevenson.
Gentlemen, thank you for being here. My first question is just directly to the point of why is the height increase necessary?
The height increase was necessary to fulfill the amount of units that we needed, i.e. the amount of income the property makes to support the amount of debt. Poppleton has terrible soil, so it's very costly. And us building 80-20, that 20% of what you would have traditionally been market rate, we need to cover cost. So
Sure, but help me understand, we're talking about 7 feet about roughly?
It gives us one more floor, yeah. It gives us one more entire floor of units.
How do you get one floor out of 7 feet?
No, it's not necessarily the 7 feet, it's what the existing height is permitted. How many floors can you get in that? And it's maybe 6.5. So you're not gonna build a half, so you need the 7 feet to get that 7th floor.
Understood. You mentioned other projects, including the single family, and so the PUD is, larger than these few sites. Is there you also talked about the schedule and things outside of your control and the timeline. Based on where we are now, is there an updated sort of phasing plan or overall master schedule that addresses some of the things like the integration of the single-family elements as well as green space that the community is really interested in?
So the community has a 5-acre park in the middle. We built the dog park. We built Edgar Allan Poe's park. So we have addressed the green space component of this. As we've gone, we build on a per building basis. Above the ground plane, all of our buildings have massive amounts of green space. So community members who actually live in our buildings have tons of green space that are lawned on upper floors. So we've delivered 100% of everything that we promised through our PUD 100% of the time. So
My question was if there's an updated overall schedule for the project as a whole. I don't think that you've delivered 100% of the project.
No, there's still millions of square feet to go.
Exactly.
So your city doesn't actually absorb millions of square feet at a time. So if we're.
Sir, I was asking if there is a schedule.
I was answering your question, if you let me finish.
Okay.
So since the city doesn't have tens of thousands of units that get absorbed yearly, we can't build it. So we're gonna build to the absorption. So in our PUD and our land disposition agreement, it allows us to build to absorption. So we'll build as fast as we can to absorption. I don't know, and nor do I have the crystal ball of absorption, but as our market studies tell us what absorption are, we will build to that. But there's no definitive timeline to build the next 1.5 million square feet.
But you do know when you're selling the land to Ryan Homes.
Oh, yeah, that's a done deal.
That's a done deal.
You
That's
do know
6
what-
acres.
I think that's what Vice Chair Stevens said. Just give us a schedule. That
Sure.
would be helpful. Of what
Ryan
you
Holmes
know,
deal is
not-
already is technically done and sold. We build pad sites and then we sell per pad site. So we'll be back in front of you guys relatively soon to talk about the pad sites. Because we have to come in and Ren knows of this as well. So we're already been in front of the staff side of the world for the single family homes. So we expect fourth quarter to be kind of construction start. We just have to get through process. So STV is our architect / engineer on that, who's not here today, but yeah, there's a complicated schedule of.
Yes, Commissioner, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Horn.
I just have a community engagement statement and question. The first is, I've been on this commission for about 6 years, and the shift in terms of community engagement, to me, is positive. And so whatever you're doing, whatever shift has occurred, just keep on doing that in terms of community engagement. It's good to hear positive comments about this project. When I was looking at the letters, though, so I heard the individuals, which I think is very positive, but within the documents we had, we didn't really see any letters.
1,000 plus.
Those are 1,000, but I mean, that's over the history of the project.
In that binder clip, those are all current. So I did current as well as historic. So
It would've
you'll
been
see the
great to have
lineage.
those beforehand, but regardless.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
didn't have a chance.
Commissioners.
So Southwest Community Partnership is supporting this in an official letter?
So there's an official letter from Southwest Partnership signed by Richard Parker. So that was done, that was submitted to the city a few years ago. So that's in there. We have just, you have CPBO, which is their business district, current letter of support, you name it, it's in there for you to see. Sorry that it's just, I couldn't figure out how to upload all of that. Your system was not thrilled with me.
Okay. That was my only question in terms of organizations. All right, thanks.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Warren. Are there any other questions for the speakers? Seeing none, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Is
guys.
there anyone else here who
Thank
would
you.
like to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any questions, comments, deliberations from the commission?
I have a couple more for staff.
Please.
Mr. Tiso, you may be best for this. So first, my question is on the zoning code before I apply it to this issue. This is on the criteria for approving a minor change.
Is there any opposition? Is this for?
I'm sorry, did you want to speak on the item?
Yes.
Okay, please, come on. I wasn't differentiating between those in support or those in opposition. So while you pull up the criteria for a minor change, we'll allow this person to speak.
Mr. Tiso, so it says the commission may approve a change that is not a major change as defined below. But it also says that it may not approve any change that violates the underlying zoning. That to me seems counterintuitive because the point of the PUD would be to change the underlying zoning, but the way it's written, I would read that to understand that you can't change the underlying zoning any more than the PUD already has.
Yeah, so this is where it's difficult to apply retroactively the new model of PUDs on what was created under the old zoning code. Depending on the age of a particular PUD and what its focus was on, some of them were, like you saw earlier today, to fix one particular use issue, and so they're largely silent on other things. Or they may focus on, just bulk standards and ignore uses whatsoever. So to the extent that the development plan does not provide for something, whether it's additional density, moving things around, whatever it may be, then you have to follow the zoning code requirements for that parcel, which might then mean that you have to have variances approved. So just because, if you were just building a regular building that would need, say, a yard setback, it would need approval for us for design, but would also need a yard variance. So you have to follow the zoning code's requirement where it's not addressed in the development plan, if that helps.
We can stop there and continue after Ms. Edie speaks.
Ma'am, your opportunity to speak. If you give us your name and provide us with your thoughts, that'd be great.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Sonia Edie, and I am a long-term resident of the Poppleton community. I always like to reference third generation to that community and fourth generation to the 9th district. I just wanted to start off with some letters that the community had requested from the housing commissioner and the mayor about the PUD. And since we are talking about this PUD, in January, the 15th, I believe, we received an email from Nick, our new planner, letting us know that there is going to be a conversation or a hearing coming up concerning this PUD. I have so much in my notes, I'm trying to pull them all up. They're not in good order. So we received this saying that in January, the Councilman Bullock has introduced the necessary rezoning bills for the pole home sites. We would like to coordinate the URP repeal with the zoning changes so that they will be understood as a package. Did we have any questions about the URP and/or zoning changes? and said that I am more than happy to meet with you and others from your community to review the process and answer any questions. I also make myself available for the Poppleton Community Meeting to discuss with the community at large. This email was sent to the Howland side of Poppleton, to the President Laura. Said Councilman Bullock just introduced a bill for these zoning changes for pole homes. So we are looking at a slightly shorter timeline than originally anticipated. I did not know that the bill was coming through already. The URP covers most of Highlands Market, and we need to coordinate the URP repeal bill with the zoning changes.
Okay, whoever's got that, it's got to turn it off.
I tried.
All right. I was going to say, next time it's $5 on the table. All right, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Okay, and this one came to me. I wanted to reach out, this is also from Nicholas. I want to reach out to you all to let you know that DOP staff met with La Cité about the next phase of their project, which includes townhomes and 2 smaller multifamily buildings on the west side of the PUD. If you like, we can schedule a time for a quick Teams call so you can give your information. I have so far, and I can go over the next steps in the process.
I just want to make sure that while you're going through that, let's make sure that what's before the commission today.
I understand what's in front of the commission today, and I'm bringing these to y'all attention because the way information is shared with the community and the time that the community is allowed to respond and the things that the community is asking for with working with the city concerning our neighborhood. And so therefore, we have been told that this was a minor change that was necessary. And right now, our neighborhood has more than just La Cité's development. You have the pole homes development as well as La Cité's development. And therefore, if you heard what I've read, they're saying they're packaging this. So there is a need for the changes of this PUD to make way for the changes of the Transforms pole development as well. So there's 2 things happening simultaneously that are not being discussed. And so therefore, we have reached out to the housing commissioner as well as our planner last year. And I have a copy of that letter as well, that the community association, our board, reached out to them to ask about this PUD. Could they come in and explain Poppleton's PUD? And in May of last year, we received a notice from Ms. Tamara Woods, who indicated that she was going to submit this information because when we invited Nick and the housing commissioner out to our community to talk about these things, they were not informed enough about a PUD. And neither of them was even informed enough to talk to us about the Poppleton PUD. So therefore, they scheduled a reschedule of a meeting in July of last year in order for us to learn more and to discuss the PUD, only because there was a change to the LDDA agreement that was from 2004. And because the mayor agreed in 2022 to amend the original PUD, the LDDA agreement to bring townhomes for home ownership and as well as affordable housing, we wanted to know if, since you're now looking at the LDDA and making amendments, could there be any amendments with the PUD? And that's why we were actually having that conversation before all of this about La Cité's senior building. This is information that we was trying to know so that we would know what happened with all this development, the University of Maryland and La Cité coming into our neighborhood. We lost height, depth, and density. You know, our skylines are gone. we are being, the density is coming back as if it was Lexington Terrace projects, high rises all over again. And these are some of the things that we're looking at with the transform pole. They need heights. They're trying to go up 5 stories for the transform poles development. And so when we're asking the question about why are you changing from a R8 to a R9 for zoning, we're not getting the type of answers that we need. So we're showing up and writing letters because we know that once the changes are made, then they can't be reversed, but this will allow for the future continuance of height, depth, and density. So this is why I wanted to bring it to y'all.
No, I appreciate that. That's very helpful. So if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is there's a whole series of issues that are happening in your community that you're not actively engaged in the conversation necessarily with the city planning team or the housing department and a variety of the city agencies.
Exactly.
To A, understand what's being proposed, B, voice your concerns about it. And although the only issue that's before us today is a minor variance to a height limitation from 68.
So one of the things, again, why I'm bringing that minor and major, because when Poppleton was dealing with the first phase of this development, a lot of things from this planning department in here, we were told, well, y'all were told that there were going to be minor changes. Everything kept coming through as a minor change. And this commission realized after the fact that because it came through as a minor change, that there was no overlook. You didn't go back and really review, what was being changed, what was actually on the table. So things were pushed through because it was looked at as a minor change.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't control the definition of a minor change is identified in the law. And so if it meets the criteria of a minor change, we can't say, oh, no, you got to review this. You got to open up this PUD for review. It's only when it's determined that it's a major amendment to the PUD that you have to go back before the city council to get that amended. We don't control that. And I can be very frank with you, being involved in the development community, the development community is going to say, no, we're keeping it as a minor change because we don't want to open up the whole PUD again. And so make sure we only ask for less than 10%. Okay, it's just the reality of what happens in the development community. It's not, in my opinion, it's not devious. It's just we don't want to open up.
For us, it is. It's sneaky. It's sneaky. And it's a way of them passing things through and putting them into law. And, then again, it cannot be amended. It's a done deal. So if Tom Previs was on one of those previous commissions, and he actually had to acknowledge and almost apologize that he did not pay attention more, that what was being presented should have had more time for y'all to review before passing it through. Because it was not just a minor change. And it continued to extend this development without having anybody to come back and do reviews. And so now we are almost 24 years in with this development happening. Yes, since 2004.
So can I ask a favor? Mm-hmm. Our next commission meeting, and I'm going to ask this of Mr. Tissot. Our next commission meeting is on May 30th, and at that, it's going to be focused on the comprehensive plan. It's going to be at 6 p.m. It's going to be in another location. The meeting immediately after that, the next one, can we have a briefing session specifically focused on the Poppleton PUD and identify what was originally identified, what were the original design criteria and everything in the Poppleton PUD, and what has changed since, so that we can look at the cumulative impact of a bunch of little changes. Does that make sense? That's the only thing that I can do.
No, I appreciate
in my role is to say, okay, there was an original deal, and then over the course of 20 years, that deal has changed. And I appreciate what the developers are talking about in terms of the city's got to own the property in order for us to develop it.
They own it. They own everything now. I know we ain't going to go into it, but
and all that. So I would just like to know, this was the original this was the original PUD, and here are the tweaks that we've made to it along the way. And by the way, it would also be good to understand the peripheral development that's happening around the PUD,
Absolutely.
okay?
Absolutely, thank you.
So if I can ask you let's come back and let's discuss that in 2 planning commission meetings. The briefing sessions start at noon. I hate to screw up your entire day, but I mean, so you'll know that at noon on that date, and I don't remember, June 20th, that we'll be here at noon, and we're going to get a briefing from the planning department on this very topic. And so we'll all be able to understand what we're talking about. Does that make sense to everybody? Would that be helpful?
I think so.
And I have one thing other to talk about, the letters of support. The letter that Dan talked about from the Southwest Partnership, that letter was not supported by the board. I was a member of the board. When we learned of that letter being submitted, it was 3 weeks after the letter was given to Dan Bythewood. We had just, the ED had just changed, so Michael Sipe, who was our ED at the time, had just resigned, and we had a new ED coming in, who was Tony Scott. And Richard Parker had just become the president of the Southwest Partnership. That was an agreement that was made with Richard Parker and Dan Bythewood on a letter for, to help with his funding.
Yes, sir. We're not
And so,
going back and
but my name is attached to that, because he brought it up is the reason why I brought it up. And
he
we
had his
asked for a
opportunity to speak.
recension of that letter, but because they did not know what happened with that funding, or how many people he had already submitted it to, because that letter asks for the Southwest Partnerships Board, which is 7 neighborhoods of the Southwest neighborhoods, to support the height, depth, and density, and put investment funding into that development. And that was not what the community itself was asking for, and so we asked to have that letter rescinded. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, wait, before you walk away. Okay. I want you to make sure you don't forget your walker behind you. And B, to make sure that, is there any questions from the commission for the speaker? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can I make one request of the speaker?
Yes.
Ms. Edie, if you don't mind emailing us any specific questions that you have about the PUD so that we can include answers to those in the briefing, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who would? Yeah. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak? By the way, if you've spoken, we're not going back to any additional testimony from everybody who's already spoken. This is not going to be okay, well, they said this, and I'm going to come back up and say that. Sorry. Yes, if you would please tell us your name and let us know what you'd like to say.
Yes, my name is Tisha Guthrie, and I'm also a member of the Poppleton community. I need to admit right now that I'm a little unnerved. I'm a little nervous speaking. There are so many people here, and they are definitely entitled to their opinion and to support the further development. But I live in Central West, and there's a lot of inequity in the buildings. I live in the 201 building. We kind of, the C Row building, which is 201 North Schroeder Street. And I'm here representing a lot of individuals. I represent myself, but there's a lot of communication within our building around the inequitable treatment that we have. Dan, I usually don't refer to him as Dan, I usually say developer, but since everyone's referring to him as Dan right now, the buildings are definitely, the design is different, which is, it is what it is. But he actually spoke of the green spaces. There's inequity in just the green spaces. In the Avra building, the green space is lush, lots of greenery, even lawn chairs. It's inviting. if you took a look at where our green space is right now, I mean, it's great to have a green space, right? But there's nothing green there. All of the green life has been extracted. There are red chips up. There have never been any lawn chairs there. There's a really nice grill. There's a very nice vanity, tabletop area where there's a sink. There are no chairs there. The water's been turned off. It's not accessible to the community. It's not accessible to the residents there. In the other building, there are televisions, there's music. There's nowhere for us to commune. So again, you don't have to depict something as a failure to identify exactly. And again, like the inequities.
Yeah.
A lot of people, people's experience is what they are. I'm not going to deny that. My experience with the property management has been one of retaliation and intimidation. That is very unsettling when you have to rest your head somewhere and then you want to come and speak your piece. I don't know if I'm going to go home and be retaliated against. And that's a really diseasing way to live your life. I'll leave it there because I know you guys have been here for a while and.
Well, first and foremost, thank you very much for speaking up. Secondly, although you may have an aversion to the public speaking, you did a phenomenal job. I would echo one thing that Commissioner Horn said is, I've been serving on the commission at the same time as Commissioner Horn and many of the other commissioners here. And the conversation regarding Poppleton has gone all over the board. And it has, it was nice today to hear some very positive things because heretofore I really hadn't heard a hell of a lot of positive things about Poppleton in this room. So it was nice to hear some things. But clearly there is still work that needs to be done for the existing residents, both in the buildings and in the community. And I'm delighted that the developers are here, that they're hearing this. I pray that there's no retaliation against you or any other resident or a member of the community who speaks out about potential improvements within the community. So I think, unfortunately, that's the only thing that this commission can do. We have a very singular role in this, which is to say, okay, they're asking for a height modification from 68 feet to 74 feet, 8 inches. And that's the only thing that is on our plate. But the fact that, we're having this conversation in a public hearing, it's being recorded and everything, hopefully is opportunity for the sides to continue to grow and talk. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments for the speaker?
I'd like to thank you for coming in. It's very brave for you to do so. We have looked at, maybe not enough, but we've looked at and discussed briefly the conversation about
from Southwest.
Mixed population. I don't know what the proper term is. It's not coming to me right now because actually I'm a little bit nervous about discussing it too. But I just want to acknowledge your coming in and bringing up a subject that is touchy but needs to be discussed, needs to be brought to the fore. So thank you very much for that. And I hope that offers you some small comfort that it is important that you have brought it up. It needs to be part of the larger conversation, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this? Yes, please.
Hi, just very briefly, I'm Nicole King, professor at UMBC and live in Hollands Market.
and supportive of the general design here. And just had questions, which you had my letter about why the PUD is easily modified by a developer, and residents have been organizing. I think Ms. Edie was speaking to that, to request green space, to request community benefits as part of this development, which has a lot of public funds moving forward. So I think it's great that people support the community and that you've put something forth where we can have more transparency, because the Fifth Amendment to the Land Disposition and Development Agreement, which pushed the senior building forward, there was discussion of a Sixth Amendment that the city would work with community members on diverse positions, because I think we can all get together and we all want what's best for the community. But what folks also need is transparency in this development project. I appreciate your questions very much about what's moving forward, because people get confused, and that makes really good community members not get along with one another. So just to clarify, June 30th, is that something that's open to the public?
It's not June 30th. it's
June 20th. And is that something that's open to the public?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's,
All right,
the
thank you.
briefing
Thank you for
session
your-
starts at 12 o'clock here in this room. And we'll look forward to the presentation. I mean, just so you know, as part of the staff report, the staff provides the commission with a history of what's happening here.
Right.
But it's written, and for me, visualizing it and understanding it a little bit more is very, very helpful. So that's what I personally want to focus on.
Right.
In
Indeed.
regards to your comment, the commission can only deal with things that are what we consider minor amendments. Any major amendment has to be done through the council person and the city council.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. So I appreciate that moving forward, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ma'am, I understand in the back, you would like to speak, ma'am?
My name is Charlotte Wilson. From day one, when I moved into the building, I have received nothing but good things. I'm very well supported. I lost one of my eyes in 20, and I lost my other eye in 23. And I'm telling you, I feel safe. I feel no negative energy. I'm pretty much supported wherever I go at in the building. This is awesome. And I always find that if you believe in yourself, things can work out for the good all the way around the board. You just have to believe, and if you don't put anything in, you won't get anything out.
I think a lot of people have put a lot in, and they may not be feeling like they're getting, enough back. I think, again, as we said, there's a lot of very positive things that have come out of it. It's great to hear the support that has been voiced today. It's something that heretofore I quite frankly can't remember in the 6+ years that I've served on the commission. So that's very positive, but clearly I think just like everything else, there's still work to do. So, all right. Yes, please come up.
Great afternoon, everybody. My name is Keisha Howard, and I am new to the Poppleton community. I've been working in Poppleton for 7 years, but living in Poppleton for 4 years. I am also an employee of Center West. And so my journey with this neighborhood has been tumultuous. Needless to say, I watched 19 bodies drop dead, all under the age of 30, in the community that I serve in. To walk one block and see a shining light in my community makes a difference to me. Not only did I walk one block, but I continued to walk blocks and I met people who I've never seen before. There are people who would never walk on Stroder Street who are in this Poppleton community. My goal for this community was to bring this whole community together because it's very divided. The homeowners, the people who could afford to buy a home in that community versus the people who were considered to be poor in that community. In the middle of those two arguments, because it was an argument, a very loud one, sets hope inside of Center West. When I moved into Center West, I came from my home, which my spouse and I brought, working hard in Baltimore City our entire lives. We rent our property out and rent in Center West. Since I got in Center West 4 years ago, it has been the only luxury apartment that I have ever lived in almost 50 years of life. I'm born and raised out of Cherry Hill in South Baltimore. My entire family is from South Baltimore. My best friend's father did a drug overdose where Center West now is. That neighborhood was dark, it was ugly, and it was dying. And now we are thriving together. The 101 building and the 201 building both are going through all of these beautiful things where the green space is amazing. It is amazing. The same things that were in the 101 building were in the 201 building. What happened was people allowed people into the building that wasn't supposed to be there. And that's why management has changed. That's why JR is there with me now. And we are shifting to make sure that the families have what they need. There's no need for anyone to be afraid in our community because we work together to resolve things. However, there's that equal divide in that community where if you go 3 blocks up the street, you'll see a whole different side of Poppleton. If you walk 3 blocks down, you'll see another side. The families are excited about this senior building. My mom lives in the 1700 block of Emerson Avenue, and she said, I pray I don't die before that building goes up because I want to live in luxury too. I desire for Baltimore City seniors to have a wonderful place to call home, and I am excited about the change that these buildings will bring into the place where I call home. I get to become a homeowner all over again in this neighborhood because I desire, with my adopted son and my 4 adult children, to purchase one of the homes that will go for sale there. I'm the same girl from Cherry Hill that struggled her way through Coppin State College, that decided to be a pillar in my community. I watched my grandmother do it in South Baltimore, and I do it every day for the last 7 years in the Poppleton community. We have great leadership in Poppleton. I have no idea why Dan or Ian or their development team has wanted to build in our area, but I say build until you can't build anymore. I say keep creating opportunities for the citizens of Baltimore City to continue to be great because we desire a better Baltimore. Neighborhood by neighborhood, not just certain areas, not just because we're 2 blocks south of University of Maryland, not because of Southwest Partnership, but because of every person in that community. We all make a difference, and I'm a proud member of the Greater Poppleton community. I'm a proud staff member at Center West Apartments, and I am a proud Baltimorean. I am thankful for these opportunities, and I just look forward to progress. Change is necessary. This is necessary. The seniors deserve luxury living. We are already getting calls based off of media burbs that went out, those announcements of what is coming. People are already anticipating moving into the senior development, and I'm excited for the change. So thank y'all for your time today.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the speaker? Thank you very much. Okay, last time. I closed it once, going twice. All right, closed. All right, the public hearing is closed. Any questions, comments, deliberations, or discussions from the commission? Commissioner Stevenson, you had started off with some questions for staff.
Yes, thank you. And so, Ren, you put this in your report, but I'm going to ask you to explain it to me. I looked up the height limit for R9. It's 3 times the FAR. And so you spoke to that, but can you just kind of summarize?
Yes.
And while you're getting to that, for context, we talked about the other La Cité buildings to the south. We also just recently discussed the rezoning of the Poppleton site to R9 for height reasons. So trying to understand if this is, how this compares to that.
Okay, so I think the Poe Home site came up as the rezoning question from, are you talking about the site that Ms. Edie referenced?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a proposed future rezoning from R8 to R9 for a different site.
Right, correct.
So this site is zoned R9.
Yes.
And the FAR is 3.0. So the site is about 0.8 acres or 0.87 acres, I think. It's 35,227.5 square feet per a survey that was done. That would mean that the allowable area was, so the maximum building area would be 105,682.5 square feet. So 3 times the 35,000 or so results in about 105,000 square feet of building area per the underlying zoning.
How does that relate to the height?
So it doesn't, unless it's limited by the PUD.
Did I misread the zoning table?
So if you wanted to build a 100 square foot building, you could build it, divide 100 square feet by that 105. It doesn't work out from like an engineering perspective, but you could potentially go up 100 floors if you needed to, because FAR doesn't limit height. It only limits the maximum bulk of the building, the total square footage of the building.
There's 3 things that control your bulk regulations: your height, your setbacks, and your building code. So if I meet my setbacks and I got a floor area ratio, I can go as high as I want. But there's no height limitation.
Depending on the size of the site.
Depending on the size of the site.
And the physical nature of, the physical realities of the building. It has to stand up, it has to meet the building code.
All right, I'm not gonna ask you to do the math on what that would translate to for this site. It's okay, really.
Okay.
Do you have it already?
I do. So the proposed building is 171,786 square feet. So it's a little less than, it's about 175%. So it's not 100%, it's about 175% of the allowable FAR per the underlying zoning if there was no provision within the PUD. Since the PUD speaks to height and overall density within the entire PUD, it speaks to a maximum within the PUD footprint. That's where we rely on the PUD to tell us how much buildable area is left within the PUD. So despite the underlying zoning, the building is far below the maximum buildable area of the PUD.
Understood. Okay, that's all my questions. Well, this is more of a rhetorical question.
Shit. Oops, sorry.
The
Should have said that on television.
Look.
Right now, Ivor's in the back going, the one time he's got his microphone on, he swears.
This may be a rhetorical question, Mr. Tiso, but the code is very specific on the definition of a minor change versus a major change. I don't think it's specific on rounding or significant figures. So my personal opinion, 9.9 is 10, but that's just how I see it. That's all.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Stevenson. Anyone else have questions for staff? Yes, Commissioner Horn.
I don't have a question. Can I just make a statement?
Absolutely.
I want to revisit this whole community engagement in these letters. I've looked through the majority of the letters, and the issue I have is that the letters aren't addressing the request in front of us, which is this minor change in final design approval. A lot of the letters are from 2011, 2012, 2015. And so I'm trying to get an accurate representation of what community feels regarding this. One of the, I guess whenever things are in front of us in this particular area, I particularly look for Southwest Partnership. I think, Missy, are you president of the, so she's president of the board. And so as president of the board, I think she would have some understanding of how that organization feels about it. I did not see a letter from Southwest Partnership. And so that's just my issue. It might not affect how I vote, but I'm just saying in the future, just to the developers, when getting letters of support, have it really focused on the particular request at hand. So I just wanted to say that.
Great, thank you very much. Yes, I don't even have this letter. Or anyone else who would like to speak on this? Anyone, I'm sorry, any other questions or comments from the commission? Any deliberation? I mean, the problem is you can't drop, 1,000 pages on the commission the day of the hearing.
I think it was just indicating that I guess there has been support over the years more than I guess the public at the hearings has indicated it's been negative. I guess that's that. So I accept that there has been support over the years. I mean,
Fair enough.
even for this specific project, I mean, it seems like there's no one opposed to this specific project
Issue.
and recognizing that senior housing has a need and affordable housing has a need for seniors particularly. But there's a lot of issues and concerns about Poppleton's project and development in this area, which deserve to be addressed. I think we can start that process, or as the planning commission, with the briefing, and then on the 20th. Yeah, and generally more engagement and more conversation about the other things that are happening in the area.
Agreed. I agree 100%. All right. With that, based on that, do we have a motion?
Move to approve or adopt staff recommendation to approve.
We have a motion. Is it seconded?
Second.
We have a motion made by Deputy Mayor Williams, seconded by Commissioner Collins. Mr. Secretary, will you call roll?
Robin Allen,
Approved.
Marcia Collins,
Approve.
Talib Horn,
Approve.
Claudia Jolin,
Approve.
Doug McCoach, Justin Williams, Eric Stevenson,
Opposed.
and Sean Davis.
Approve.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. All right, we'll resume this afternoon's meeting with agenda item number 18.
Agenda item number 18 is City Council Bill number 24-0499, rezoning for 2101 Gould Street in the 11th Councilmanic District. Caitlin Odette will present.
Commissioners, I have to present to you this afternoon the rezoning of 2101 Gould Street, where the request is to change the property from an I2 zoning district to a PC2 zoning district. Okay, so the subject property is located in South Baltimore, adjacent to the Baltimore Peninsula or Port Covington development to the west and to the Locust Point industrial area to the east. The property has been vacant for roughly 5 years following the end of operation of the Gould Street generating station by Exelon, which ended in June of 2019. The property is adjacent to Interstate 95, which continues along the north of the site as an elevated highway. The property is not within the Port Covington master plan area, though it is directly adjacent to it. And here's a view of the property looking north, and a view of the property looking south. So here you can see the property outlined in red within the I2 district, directly adjacent to PC2, which is the zoning district which it's requesting to be changed to. The two purple sites that would be within like this donut of PC2 are BGE facilities that were just kind of recently completed, which made this generating site no longer necessary, I believe. And the property is within the South Baltimore Gateway Master Plan, which dates to 2015. In this plan, the site is identified it was identified as the maritime industrial previously, but as recommended for mixed-use development opportunities in the future. So these are the approval standards for the rezoning. Require a substantive change or mistake within the zoning classification and the required findings of fact. and additional standards. So in this instance, the relocation of the electric facility, the vacancy of the building, and the ongoing development of Baltimore Peninsula demonstrate a substantial change in the character of the neighborhood. And the purpose of the proposed rezoning is to allow the building to be adaptively reused following its vacancy in 2019. The property is currently, or has historically been industrial, reflecting its use as a generating plant. But because the new site or facility has recently been built, there's no longer a need for that. Resulting in, so that, let's see here. Because the BG&E recently built a new facility on adjacent land and no longer resulting in the vacancy of the historic building following the comprehensive rezoning process, which was finalized in 2017. So that was, the vacancy was following the transform zoning. And also, despite the deep water frontage, the site is at a pinch point, meaning that it cannot support a new pier, which reduces the establishment of new industrial uses. So the site is adjacent to the PC2 zoning, where the Baltimore Peninsula development has already materialized. And the PC2 zoning allows for a variety of uses, including light industrial. So some requirements for rezoning. The PC2 zoning district is intended for a large variety of uses. So these include residential, commercial, office, open space, recreation, and entertainment, as well as light industrial. And this zoning would continue the existing PC2 designation that's adjacent to it to the west. Well, Baltimore City needs to maintain industrially zoned land to maintain and attract industrial uses and jobs. This site is not ideal for those industrial uses, demonstrated by its vacancy over the last 5 years. And the needs of the particular community. So the immediate community largely consists of developers to the west and industry to the east. So the site acts as a border between the two, with its inability to house a pier and the large historic building on site, as well as its proximity to the new development. The rezoning will allow it to meet the needs of the community. As for equity, so the property is currently vacant, and it will have, and this change will have limited impact in both the short term and in the long term. It will allow for the adaptive reuse of the building and the connection to the development to the west. The industrial community was consulted regarding this change and had no opposition, as the site is not suitable for maritime industry. And for internal operations, staff does not anticipate any change. The site was properly posted. The SB7 Coalition, which includes Curtis Bay Community, Cherry Hill Development Corporation, Westport Community Economic Development Corporation, Sharp Leadenhall Community Association, Riverside, Locust Point, and others were notified of this action. And staff recommends approval. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions from the commission?
Yes.
I was curious about the footprint of the zoning and how, I'm sorry. Thank you. The footprint of the rezoned area and how it leaves an island of I-2 in a location which appears to have substation electrical gear.
Yes.
But it also seems to exclude, if I read the map correctly, a substantial brick building, one of them. And I was wondering if you could explain that.
So those are both sites that would remain zoned as I-2, that would kind of be enclosed by PC2, are owned by BGE. And I believe they're utilizing their whole site for the new facility.
Mm-hmm.
That's my understanding, but I could be incorrect.
Okay, so they would not be in favor of rezoning their.
No, that was a question we asked, right, to make it a clean map that has clear delineations, and there is no interest in rezoning those properties, and there's no anticipation that there would be a rezoning in the immediate or long-term future.
But as we are rezoning this to what could potentially be a residential use, is there the likelihood that we're creating a situation where people may come to find that they don't want to live next to a big substation?
I think as this, so this is very early on. I don't think there are any specific redevelopment ideas, like in planned at the moment. But I think that's going to have to be an aspect of any redevelopment that does happen there. How they utilize the site, how they connect the site to the rest of the development when you have these large facilities directly adjacent. So I understand and I share your concerns, but I think that hopefully if and when it comes to that, that a design can be created that would somewhat cordon off. I mean, we have not so great examples of similar things I can think of one in Seton Hill, one Ridgely's Delight, right? Again, they're terrible brick walls that enclose BGE facilities. We don't want that, but we can imagine maybe something not quite so terrible that could still enclose and provide safety.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Deputy Mayor?
Same question, basically.
Any other questions from the commission?
You might have said it, I guess the owner is no longer a Berg entity.
Yeah, so it was sold in 2019 from Exelon to GRP, I forget the name, and now it is being purchased or is under, maybe they've already brought it, the Baltimore Urban Revitalization. We have folks here just from the ownership team who can speak if you'd like.
Anything else? Great. Thank you, Caitlin. Is there anyone from the public here to speak on this issue?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I spoke with Ms. Audette right before this, and I think because there are two bills related back to back, we're just going to do our presentation at the end of the second bill, if that's okay.
Fine with me.
Great.
Thank you.
And I can continue with the next item if you'd like to push voting off until then. I don't.
The one signage?
Yeah. Vote separately?
Defer to you.
This
This one's simple. I'm a
They're both
supporter of
very
this. There's
simple.
obviously clear a change from the
Yeah.
zoning, and it seems simple, and there's no one here to oppose, I imagine, right?
All right. Is there anyone else from the public to speak on this one? No? So we'll close the public hearing. Why don't we just vote on this and then move to the next one? If there's a motion.
Yeah. Move to approve on the basis of the staff report and the change that was outlined from the industrial facility being demolished. Second.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, Commissioner Horn. Mr. Secretary?
Reverend Allen.
Approve.
Marcia Collins.
Approve.
Lee Horn.
Approve.
Claudia Jolin.
Abstain.
Doug McCoach.
Approve.
Eric Stevenson.
Approve.
All right, the next item is City Council Bill number 24-0500, zoning for Port Covington area of special signage control, an amendment in the 11th District. Caitlin, what that will present.
So this item is to revise the criteria for the Port Covington area of special signage control and provide a special effective date. It's quite simple. The Port Covington area special sign control consists of those areas that within the PC zoning districts. So located in Port Covington, known as Baltimore Peninsula, the area that has PC zoning is location of a large development that's identified in the Port Covington Master Plan. So the Port Covington zoning district is limited to Port Covington or Baltimore Peninsula. This is an area along the Middle Branch, the Patapsco River in South Baltimore. It's adjacent to Locust Point, industrial area to the east and west of the Hanover Street Bridge, south of I-95. So the amendment seeks to remove the date associated with the Port Covington area special sign control. Presently, section 17-502 of Article 32 states the following. The entire PC zoning district as mapped on the adopted zoning map as of June 5th, 2017 is designated an area of special signage control. So the request would remove the date, allowing any additional areas zoned PC to be part of the area of special sign control. So as you all just voted, and assuming City Council does as well, this new site, which is now zoned, presumably would be zoned PC, would be within the area of special sign control. And the description of the 4 Port Covington subdistricts describes the specific geography, which limits any future growth of the zoning category. So you can see here, It says 4 subdistricts are established to accommodate and encourage redevelopment of the Port Covington area along the north shore of the middle branch of the Patapsco River as follows. And then it describes each of those 4 subdistricts, but this will limit it geographically so we don't see the Port Covington zoning districts spreading out throughout the city. From an equity standpoint, the amendment would have minimal impact to the surrounding community in both short and long term, and would not impact existing patterns of inequity. Engagement, there's a limited residential community at the moment. The petitioner is connected with the larger development at Port Covington and has regular meetings with the surrounding residential and industrial communities. And this action would have no impact on internal operations. The site was properly posted, and the neighborhoods associated with the SB7 coalition were notified, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Any questions on this one from the commission? I have one question. If you could just remind us the process for approving signage in the area of special signage control and what would potentially be allowed on this extremely visible site?
Yes, it's my favorite topic. Area special sign control means that the boundaries are set by city council. And so this would be a change in the boundaries, right? Because we're adding all those PC areas. But the sign plan itself comes to Planning Commission for any amendment. So if we're changing the sign plan, which means adding new signs to it, removing, we've never removed a sign yet, but changing sizes, those types of things, we would bring it to you all and ask for your approval. And we review it against the design manual, where we have specific requirements about signs, and against the signage tables in the zoning code, which specify which signs are allowed in ASSCs and the deviations you can have from the zoning code. So it's a very specific, if technical, aspect. So the only thing here is this would extend billboard use. So billboards are only allowed in areas of special sign control. So you can imagine that is a nice flat wall facing I-95 that very well could be utilized for a billboard, as long as it met all the criteria, and it would have to come back to Planning Commission for review and approval.
Understood. Thank you. Anything else for Ms. Audette? Thank you. Is there anyone from the public to speak on this issue?
Good afternoon, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the commission. Lisa Domsel with Ballard Spahr on behalf of Baltimore Urban Revitalization and the Baltimore Peninsula Development Team. With me today is Jennifer Hearn, the Director of Development for Baltimore Peninsula. Thank you to planning staff for the presentation. I'm not going to belabor the rezoning, but I want to give Ms. Hearn the opportunity to address Commissioner McCoach's questions about residential development. So, Jennifer.
Sure. Good afternoon, Jennifer Hearn, as Alyssa pointed out. So from a planning perspective, we are envisioning most of the residential to be west of the Gould Street power plant. However, as the market, determines, that building could become residential, but it'll be delivering very well likely after the BGE substation is constructed. It's under construction right now. So we would have a clear indication of where the market is before and the interest. But we're hoping for energy users or residential entertainment. We're looking at some great opportunities there. Civic Center.
They're unique structures,
Mhm.
and because of that, they have great potential.
Yeah. Thank you.
I do just want to emphasize that point, and it's a remarkable opportunity for Baltimore Peninsula because there really only are 2 historic buildings that would be candidates for adaptive reuse in the entire development. It's really this and Schuster Concrete way over on the west side. So that's certainly, we are looking at the litany of possible uses, including, civic and entertainment uses. But when we go and talk to potential users, they say, what's it zoned for? And we say heavy industrial. I do just want to point out just a couple things. We are still actively seeking industrial mixed-use development for the site. It's a giant parcel. I think we could well envision that the building would be used for one thing and the remainder of the lot something else. The the nice thing about the PC district is it really doesn't foreclose any of those industrial uses. It really just adds the potential for mixed-use development. And I just want to clarify on ownership, and I think this is just a problem in the land record, like the land records isn't syncing. We did take ownership in 2021. So BUR, it was just like a back-to-back closing. We have owned the property since 2021. I think that is, and then on the sign plan, I just wanted to note that in 2022, the commission approved the initial sign plan. I think there's since been 2 amendments, one for one of our new buildings and then one for Under Armour. And then I think we would be here for a 3rd amendment to the sign plan when that's realized. So happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
Any questions from the commission for the speakers? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public who'd like to speak on this issue? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any questions or discussion?
Makes sense to me. Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner McCoach. Mr. Secretary?
Robin Allen.
Approve.
Marcia Collins. Talib Horn. Approve. Claudia Jolin.
Abstain.
Doug McCoach.
Approve.
Justin Williams.
Approve.
And Eric Stevenson.
Approve. Thank you. That brings us to today's final agenda item, right? Right, okay.
The final item is major subdivision final plans with the waiver at 2201 Clouman Street, in the 1 Westport Townhomes in the 10th Councilmatic District. Matt DeSantis will present.
Good afternoon. Staff recommends approval. 406. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is a major subdivision application request. I want to start off briefly, just acknowledge, all the stuff that we do here. It's always a team effort. This particular application has been a very long, very big, complicated team effort. So I want to thank Director Ryer specifically, and Ren, who has been overseeing design review for Westport, Ethan Cohen, who's been a big partner also in Middle Branch stuff, along with the development team in particular, and their engineering firms, and then other engineering firms working for the city, for the park. It's been a really, really big, complicated process, but I'm happy with where we finally gotten to. So I'm sure members of the commission are familiar with the Westport waterfront site. So zooming in specifically on 2201 Clouman Street, aka Parcel B. It's the big rectangular, relatively flat-ish area in the site. So I'm going to jump back. Just very briefly, there's lots more detail in the staff report, but regarding some recent history, so that the Planning Commission back in December 2nd, 2021 approved the overall, the first subdivision plan for the 1 Westport site, creating this and several other parcels, along with a conceptual master plan. In February 9th, 2023, the commission adopted the Reimagine Middle Branch plan. And then in December of last year, the commission approved a waiver request to extend this particular application. It had gone void, or it had lapsed because there was a long delay because of ongoing maglev litigation and settlements and such, separate to this particular site, but that held everything up. So the existing conditions plan is pretty basic. The site is currently 11.69 acres, and so presented here is the final subdivision plat. The application here is doing basically three things. So the first aspect of this application is slightly adjusting the parcel boundaries between the Parcel B townhome site and then the surrounding 2033 Cloman, also known as Parcel P, which will be the park parcel. There's some shifting of the existing lot line, which results in this development site enlarging slightly to 11.92 acres. The application also includes this final development plan, which includes several new private streets and alleys and 246 fee simple townhomes. The application also includes something that's a little bit unique, and that is included in the submission is it's labeled a park improvement exhibit. So I'll get to that a little bit later. So jumping specifically to the waiver that's a part of this application, the subdivision rules and regulations specify minimum widths for new streets or a rights of way. It says if you're building a new street, it has to be at least 40 feet wide. If you're building a new muse, which is a pedestrian only right of way, it has to be at least 30 feet wide. Waterfront way, as proposed on the final subdivision plat, will be only 15 feet wide, and so it requires an explicit a waiver be explicitly granted by the Planning Commission, accepting this less than standard condition. Staff has no objection to this waiver creating a substandard muse. I mean, in this case, on the other side of the 15-foot muse is going to be big public park space, as opposed to another row of townhomes. So whether it's 15 feet or 30 feet, it's just an invisible line on paper. So staff has no objection to the waiver. Shown here is the final landscape plan. The site subject to critical area program requirements. The site is going to be exceeding the planting requirements. There'll be a total of, it's written down, I was talking to Sean about it, 196 canopy trees on site, along with other understory trees and shrubs. That doesn't include the new street trees, which will be installed along. So this is noted as future Cloman Street. So it's separate but related. Existing Cloman Street. So Cloman Street is being reconstructed in a new location. Yeah, Doug's very familiar with this. Under a separate developers agreement. So included here are the architectural renderings. The site's going to be comprised of both 16 and 20-foot wide townhomes, all with rear-loaded garages. The submission also includes a special exhibit that specifies which side elevations will have which treatments. The more high visibility end units will be full brick, so those visible from Cloman Street and from the waterfront public park space will have full brick. Those less visible will have one-story brick, and those least visible will have just a brick water table. So the park improvements exhibit. So and I included more detail about this in the staff report. So to try and summarize very briefly, part of the reason why there was so much ongoing conversation and collaboration over the past several months, very intensively, is because the site is zoned TOD4. It also has it's designated with a W2 waterfront overlay district, which establishes lots of unique special things for the Westport waterfront site, including required view corridors and require public access and public spaces. So the W2 overlay district, as it was drafted and exists in the zoning code, envisioned that the Westport waterfront would be developed in such a way that it would all be privately owned, and that the private developer would establish easements along the water for public access and would construct improvements. What has actually happened for lots of reasons is that Parcel P, 2033 Clomid Street, was carved out and won't be privately owned with an easement. It will be owned by the city. So it will be built by the master developer and then eventually deeded over to the mayor and city council and will be part of BCRP's inventory. So the consequence of that means that for this site and for future parcels in the Westport waterfront, One Westport site, we've got the private development that is proposed on Parcel B of the townhomes, but the zoning code also requires these certain waterfront improvements be constructed along with the private development. So if all of this was on if it was one developer on one parcel, it's very sort of clean cut. Developer A owns all this, they build their private stuff, and they build the public stuff. In this instance, Parcel B, there is a sub-developer that will be purchasing Parcel B from Stonewall, who's the master developer, and preparing the site for then a home builder, and Stonewall Capital will maintain ownership of Parcel P along the waterfront, which will eventually be transferred to the city. So the townhomes and the waterfront improvements, even though they're on separate parcels, they're two sides of the same coin. What what staff and the development team have come to is sort of this I think, hopefully elegant compromise. Noted on the development plan is language specifying that I can read this here. Clomid Street under Developers Agreement 1808, which is to be relocated to the west of these existing CSX tracks, and will provide not just access to the overall townhome site, but also to it'll also provide street frontage for 32 of the townhomes. Therefore, Clomid Street shall be constructed and open to vehicular and pedestrian traffic prior to the issuance of any use and occupancy permits for the homes fronting on it. And then separately along the area shown in green, so portions of 2033 Clomid Street, Parcel P, as outlined in green in the park improvement exhibit, will be bonded under a separate DA and constructed upon approval of plans by Baltimore City Rec and Parks. These improvements will be completed before the overall site is substantially completed, which in this case means before the issuance of the 101st townhome use and occupancy permit. So basically, the sub-developer and the home builder can get use and occupancy permits for up to the first 100 townhomes on the site, while the park improvements are also being constructed. So this way, staff feels this gives the development team, some breathing room that they can start building and selling their townhomes, but it puts a certain hook that is going to require that these required public waterfront improvements get constructed for the benefit of new and existing Westport residents and the city in general. So hopefully that's relatively clear as mud. moving on to the staff's equity analysis. So regarding short and long-term impacts, the redevelopment of the West Point waterfront, beginning with this particular property, is going to have drastic impacts to the existing West Point community specifically, which is why staff has worked so exhaustively to ensure that these final plans represented in this first stage of development do ensure public access to the waterfront and set the right stage for future phases of One Westport. Briefly, regarding the impact of this project on Baltimore's existing patterns of inequity, this project likely will have a very significant impact on existing patterns of inequity. We're still going to kind of find out how exactly that unfolds. The Westport neighborhood has had a declining population. It's had a almost 20% decline from the 2010 to 2022 census, and about 50% from 1990 to 2020. It has higher than citywide averages of vacant buildings, lower percent homeowners than the city average, higher percent unemployment, and much lower median sales price of homes. The success of the One Westport project that would bring appreciating land values to the existing Westport community can be beneficial in lots of different ways, represented by increased equity for long tenure neighborhood homeowners, increased renovation of vacant buildings, increased retail and commercial amenities for existing residents, et cetera. However, one of the fears that's been expressed by existing Westport residents is that this particular redevelopment won't be well integrated and welcoming to existing residents. And so this particular challenge can be mitigated through good urban design as well as through programs to protect legacy residents, such as ensuring deeds for family homes are in order, having homeowners apply for the homeowners property tax credit, advertisement of DHCD, homeowner assistance programs, et cetera. And so specifically to the point about these potentially negative impacts being mitigated through good urban design, that's exactly why me and other planning staff and city officials have been working so hard over the past several months with the development team to make sure that we are accommodating and being and welcoming and encouraging this private development, but in a way that is going to be sensitive to and not leave behind existing community members. So planning staff, we've been in ongoing contact with neighborhood residents and the South Baltimore Gateway Partnership staff. And before this subdivision application was submitted, which actually now this application was submitted, I think, back in 2022. Again, long delayed because of the maglev litigation. So planning staff has been meeting with community members in addition to satisfying all of the required public notice requirements. And the Westport neighborhood would be widely considered to be a historically under-resourced and overlooked community. Master developer of the site, Stonewall Capital, has been engaged in years-long engagement efforts, again, greatly delayed by the maglev holdups, both with the city, nonprofit partners, and community residents. Regarding impact on internal operations, the review of these plans and then how they fit into the overall One Westport redevelopment and the existing neighborhood have represented a very significant amount of staff time, both planning and other city agency staff. And we're looking forward to working diligently with everybody involved to make for a great project. The site was properly posted, and these handful of community associations and groups have been notified. Staff is recommending approval of the application, including the requested waiver. On a technical note, in past instances, when like a waiver of posting has been requested, I think it's made sense to like vote separately on that. I think in this instance, since the waiver is related specifically to the plans, I would think that it's appropriate to, if the commission wishes to make one vote, like explicitly acknowledging that it includes the waiver to create a muse that is less than 30 feet wide. It doesn't need a separate vote.
I would tend to agree. Curiosity, any reason that this is considered a waiver and not a variance?
So yes, that's the short answer. So the zoning code doesn't say muses have to be 30 feet wide. The subdivision rules and regulations adopted by this commission set that explicit standard. So it's, conceptually, it's the same idea. But so technically it's a waiver because it isn't from the zoning code. It's from the rules and regulations of land subdivision.
Understood. Thank you. Any questions from the commission for Mr. DeSantis? Yes, Commissioner Collins.
Could you pull up the slide that showed the layout of all the lots? I just need to get some clarity.
Yeah, let me go to the, or.
So, future Cloman Street will be a public street, correct?
That's correct.
All of the alleyways and streets within the development, including Waterfront Way, are private?
Yes, they will be private, but they will all be encumbered with public access easements.
What does that mean?
And utility easements, yes.
What?
They'll be encumbered with access easements for utilities.
By access easements, you mean what?
My understanding is.
So I have the right to walk on Waterfront Way, or?
Yes, that's correct. Yes. So it's since the overall slate is so large, the subdivision plat, it's actually going to be like a series of like 5 Mylars. This is just like the index sheet, which doesn't include all the details.
Gotcha.
But each detailed sheet, it specifies that each of the new streets, including Waterfront Way, have public access easements so if it's a full street for both vehicular access and pedestrian access, and Waterfront Way specifically for pedestrian access. There are also utility easements included as well.
Okay, so we don't plow the streets, we don't maintain the utilities, or we do plow the streets and we do maintain the utilities?
That's the first. So they would stay privately owned, which that's I would say more often than not for like new townhome developments. It's a mix. In some instances, a townhome developer decides that they want to build the streets and keep them private with public access easements. In some instances, they say, DOT, we're going to build the streets and we're going to deed them over to you, and DOT can then choose to accept them.
Right. But I guess what I'm getting at is that the advantage of them being private with an easement is they don't have to build necessarily to a DOT standard that would allow them to accept it as a public roadway, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And also, from so. And
in this case specifically, along this whole issue of the waiver.
Yeah. So with the access easements, so for a person walking through the site, they wouldn't necessarily know any difference, right? And because even though they're privately owned, if an HOA in the future decided we want to build gates and block off access, that would not be a permissible thing to do, and the city could force the removal of said gates. Since these public access easements exist. What also beneficial from the city perspective is then so the city doesn't have to maintain them, which which is helpful. And also, the city is collecting tax on them because they're private property. So,
Okay, so, so the pathways and the green area on the prior slide is the area that's going to end up being deeded over to Rec and Parks, correct?
yes, so the green area and the yellow and this part here. Ultimately, all of that parcel is going to be deeded over to the city and part of BCRP's inventory.
Okay.
This green area is just specifying that, okay, for this waterfront portion of this very, very, very large parcel needs to, the improvements in this particular portion of the parcel need to be built along with these townhomes.
Yeah, I got that. So, parking. Are these front-loaded, rear-loaded, or not loaded?
So all the units have either 1 or 2 car rear loading garages. Plus, there'll be the provision for 131 on-street parking spaces.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else with questions for?
Not that I'm that nervous about it, but what is the easement? Is it shown on one of the plans? The easement for the Maglev easement that was.
It is on one of the plans. It comes from Cloman Street to about Alley C.
Do you have a different?
Not
Do you know the
included.
details of it? Just is it?
There it is. It's that dotted line right there.
Oh.
I think that's the engineering team is here. They might have. I'm seeing some nods from Sean.
Sure.
He can provide some extra input on that.
And then is Winburn Street that must be existing. I'm thinking about the name of Middle Branch Street.
Yes.
Do something better, but.
It's, yes, Wenburn Street, yes, this portion of Wenburn, well, yes. Wenburn Street exists up here.
Right.
Along, same with Maisel, which is why these
Yeah.
portions. And that's standard DOT property locations division that they want, if it's a new street in the same sort of access to an existing street, they want it to have the old name.
That part makes sense. I guess Middle Branch, well, I don't care that much, but.
Does this lock in the name?
The
Document, does the subdivision lock?
the recordation of the subdivision plat, that's a good. Yeah, I mean,
I think we did it after.
Well, it came, yeah, I think Port Covington was back and forth. It wasn't clear when it's not a subdivision, how to rename a street. That was part of the
Yeah.
back and forth.
That's what it was, right.
That's why, I mean, I'm bringing it up now, but I don't have a strong opinion. but.
Right.
Great. Any other questions for Matt?
I don't know if it's for Matt, maybe if I see other people here from the community just thinking about the broader planning effort that we should be thinking about if we're not. Because I drove through the other day and thinking about this coming, which is great, but then thinking about the other amenities in the community that should be part of this and just a grocery store, things like that. And if there's not enough space, I don't think, maybe there is. So stuff like that, is there that planning level effort going on? Is what the questions are.
Our community planner is present and might be able to provide some input, as well as a particular neighborhood leader is here as well, who might wish to provide some testimony.
Great. Thank you, Mr. DeSantis. We'll open up the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this matter? Ma'am, please step up and introduce yourself.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Lisa Hodges-Hyken. I'm the Executive Director of the Westport Community Economic Development Corporation. And first, I want to thank the Director of Planning and staff for all their efforts. I know they have been really working tirelessly, and when we're not able to be in the room, they've been strong advocates for things like preserving the view shed, making sure that there is a bond for the park, to make sure that it gets done. So we really want to say we appreciate that. One of our main concerns has always been putting a new street grid in without a traffic impact study. We have not received a traffic impact study. We have not been contacted by the contract developer here about this project. Although we have talked to Ray Jackson about it and we are aware of all of this, we still don't have that. We also have always asked for a connection between the Kent Street light rail stop and this site. And there is no anticipation on this plan of where that might connect. We have been in contact with State Department of Transportation about that, about this project and about the connector. Not a lot of progress there, but we do have a project manager, Kathy Robertson, who will work with us on that. So those are our main concerns. We did have the same kind of questions about the private street grid and how public access would be allowed, how Legacy residents would feel welcome on the site. We will continue to work with the developer on that. If we can get a meeting with them, that would be great. And I think that is all we had, except for Wenburn Street. The existing Wenburn, we are concerned about how traffic will flow through Legacy, the Legacy part of Westport. And we want to make sure, again, going back to that traffic impact study, that we don't overly burden the Annapolis Road corridor and then the residential that's along Wenburn Street on the other side of Cloman Street. To answer the question about, that the deputy mayor had about future development, we, the Westport CEDC has a wholly owned subsidiary that is a community land trust. We currently have site control of 15 units in the Annapolis Road corridor that we're redeveloping. We also are in discussions with Ray Jackson about the development of Parcel A, and part of that to go for some kind of food retail, outlet. As you know, supermarkets have their requirements. They want to have a certain income and population. We don't have that. We hope that the farther we go with this project on Parcel B, the better we'll be able to negotiate something with a food provider. And we will be looking for your help and the help of BDC in attracting them and hopefully giving them a few years free rent like private developers have been able to do in Fells Point. And I'm happy to take any questions that you may have of me. And thank you for your time.
Thank you for being here. Does anybody have questions for Ms. Hodges? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir? Welcome back.
I've been here for like 19 hours, so I'm going to say something. I just wanted to confirm that the development of the Westport waterfront and the inclusion of this elaborate and waterfront access park is all consistent with the Reimagined Middle Branch plan that was adopted by the Planning Commission last year, and that the design work that's been going forward has been done in cooperation and to some extent with the leadership of the Westport community, as represented here by Ms. Hodges-Heiken. There are all the questions about access and belonging and are all critical and important, and they've been central to the conversations we've had about the park itself. And I just want to also say that the work to make sure this is in fact one Westport and not two Westports, and that development along the waterfront not being at the cost of or to the exclusion of improvements to the Legacy residents are also very important. That said, I think that all of those are what this community of people across South Baltimore and in the Westport community are all trying to do together. It's all consistent with our shared goals, and so I'm supportive of the project.
Hello, I wanted to make.
Please introduce yourself
Oh,
first.
I'm sorry. I'm jumping right into it. I'm Jasmine Kimball. I'm the Southern District Planner. But I did want to address the question about whether there will be amenities in the nearby area. So myself, others from planning that handle the cliff funding, and folks from SBGP, we will be working with the Westport community soon to do a community plan. Their last one was developed in early 2000, so that is in the works.
Thank you. Thanks, yeah, that's what I was getting at and thinking about, even like the fire station there and the older park could be a ripe for something. If we have a nicer park on the waterfront, we utilize the existing.
Good afternoon. Caroline Hecker, Rosenberg, Martin, Greenberg on behalf of the applicant. I'm joined by Sean Martin, and I say the developer, but he's not the developer, he's the engineer from Kimley Horn, who can answer Commissioner Collins' questions about the streets. I will be quick. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Director Ryer, for all of your help in getting us to this point. I know this has been a labor of love, and we really appreciate all the hard work that the planning department has put in. I just want to make one minor correction to the staff report. I think that the note that you were reading was the earlier version of the thing about Cloman Street. It's not going to be fully completed. It's going to be to base course paving. But what we're going to do is we're going to submit a revised sheet that cleans that up for you. So that will be resolved. But I think we're all on the same page about what we are agreeing to do. To answer the Deputy Mayor's question, we would be happy to rename Middle Branch Street Justin Williams Way or Chris Ryer Row or the Eric Tissot Memorial Street. Right. Williams Way. I mean, like, we're doing it Williams Way here. No, but no, and with that, I'll turn it over to Sean to address the questions about the road.
I guess the one question, is there a Cliff Notes version of the easement that's going to go across, just so I'm more conversant about?
Oh, you can answer the question about the
maglev easement, yeah.
Yeah, he's better about that.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, so I'm Sean Miller with Kimley Horn, the civil engineer on the project. So the maglev easement, which was that question which was asked, on this plan, it is a little hard to see, but it is a dashed line that goes all the way from the left of the plan, where with the vertical lefternmost property line all the way to the right, about,
It has a pointer.
That's great, thank you.
The top button.
Center screen, okay. Maybe.
They work this screen over here.
The bottom of Valley C, which is.
Yeah.
Or if you just have to walk over.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
I guess.
if you don't
but
mind
then
doing that.
What, if anything, is restriction? I guess, what is the easement encumbering the property with? Is it just underground? Is it?
Correct, it's an underground
If
easement.
there's even a maglev to happen?
Correct, yeah, so it's an underground easement, I believe it is, sorry, I believe it is a, relatively deep, easement, for the construction of the actual maglev tunnel, which will include being under Cloman Street as well. But in terms of the actual, depth of the potential train and bore that would go through, I can let the developer, provide information on that.
Well, I guess, yeah, I'm getting at, I guess it won't disturb development or the property value in your opinion, or would it, maybe it will, I don't know. So thinking about if I'm talking to the maglev people.
I will say that our builders are a little bit nervous about it, but
Sir, if you would, I'm sorry. Just
hi, my name's
introduce
Jamie
yourself for the
Frazier.
record.
I represent the owner, recent owner. We just closed on parcel B. We are what Matt referred to as the sub-developer under Stonewall. H&H Rock is our company. So what we resolve with maglev, if they ever get sorted out and if they choose the alignment, they have the right to go 50 feet below grade. Tunnel, they cannot disturb anything within 50 feet of ground. And so that's what the easement is. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions for the speakers?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else to speak on this issue? Mr. Barry.
Is it afternoon or evening? Just quickly, I'm Al Barry, AB Associates, on behalf of Ray Jackson, the Stonewall team. Thank the staff as well for all their hard work on this. Thank the cooperation with the community and the South Baltimore Gateway Partnership. This is, from Mr. Jackson's standpoint, always been One Westport. So it's not just this project that you're seeing as a kickoff. They just settled today, it was mentioned, but also working with the CDC on a parcel, development parcel, maybe for a food operation of some sort. More importantly, we've been in discussions with the state of Maryland over a lot of the vacant houses, which have a tentative contract that would be renovated with some state assistance. We think that's important. It goes along with this, and we're working with the state hard on that.
I guess the question I probably should ask Caroline, but since you're here, the traffic is it in a traffic mitigation fee area? It's in a traffic mitigation zone, I'm guessing?
Yes, it's a traffic mitigation zone, and from Stonewall standpoint, developer can certainly add to this. There's a lot of money that's going to be generated from these houses as part of the traffic mitigation fee. That money will go to DOT. Our suggestion has been that the community work with DOT as to how that money is spent in the neighborhood as opposed to just going to the general fund and now who knows what happens to it. That's been an issue for a while. But that's how there's no traffic study required for these types of things. It's an overall traffic mitigation fee. It's on a per unit or per square foot basis. And it's a substantial amount of money. I think it's over $100,000, if I'm not mistaken. The developer may know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just to jump back in to answer your question, I'm sorry, I forgot to address that when I was up here a second ago. It's about $137,000 that the traffic mitigation fee will be. We've agreed with the city on that. And the other point to make is that the ultimate development is actually considerably less dense than what the property is entitled for, which is several thousand units. So this is actually going to generate considerably less traffic than would otherwise be generated. But we agree completely with what Mr. Berry was suggesting, that the community really should work with DOT to figure out how the traffic mitigation funds are allocated to be used in the way that is most appropriate for the community, whether it's building that connection with the light rail or other traffic infrastructure improvements within the area.
Ms. Hecker, thank you. This wouldn't necessarily be directed at you, but your expertise tends to be so broad that I'll throw it out there.
Sure.
The developer's agreement piece of this, what is the review process for that? We don't look at developer's agreement stuff, but it's very relevant. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we care about falls in the public right of way, which is dictated by the developer's agreement. So how does that work?
It's a technical review, the developer's agreement. It's reviewed. The agreement itself is really a form document. It's just a few pages long, but the meat of it is a series of plans that are farmed out to a variety of city agencies who have particular expertise in whatever their area is. So DOT and its sort of sub-agencies review a lot of it. DPW gets pieces of it. But it is really more of a technical review rather than like a policy review, which is where the Planning Commission, I think, has most of its expertise.
Sure, thank you.
Planning staff also is provided copies of developers agreement plans, and so planning can be involved and provide input and suggest revisions and such.
Beyond just this matter, I'd be interested in that process. And the reason that I raise it is because looking at Cloman Street, there were comments from the community about connections to the existing community. Initially, I wondered why there weren't more connections with Maisel Street and Kent Street, and then you see the obstruction of the railroad tracks.
Right.
And the topography.
So those sorts of connections, would fall under probably a developer's agreement and possibly be funded by some of these mitigation funds. But I just kind of wondered where that lies so we don't lose sight of it, because it's an important piece of this, even if it's not, the developer's responsibility.
And I can add that the overall site has been and continues to be subject to design review. overseen by a planning staff. The overall site went to UDAP a couple times back in 2020. There were two, I'm looking at Doug because in 2020, which I believe the overall concept master plan for the site, it explicitly deals with connections to the existing community.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I'm thinking about this, like the light rail, land use around light rail, south, well, even Westport and Cherry Hill and in the Anne Arundel County is atrocious. Like, so thinking about how to do better, to have more ridership and have better connections with even the transit is important to do in the future.
Yeah, that's a great example. I mean, you could have someone who lives there on the corner of Mazel and Cloman that has to walk a mile, you know, or however far that is to Wenburn and back to cross the, so, interesting. But any other questions from the commission? Okay. Thank you very much. Unless there was anyone else that wanted to speak on this?
Isn't Wenburn?
We'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, any conversation? So for this, we did have the waiver as well as the application. I think we'll take that as one vote if there's a motion.
Yep, this is a long time coming, similar to Poppleton's been kicking around this whole Westport area since I was in college. So it's great to see this moving forward. So move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Jolin.
Robin Allen,
Approve.
Marcia Collins,
Approve.
Talib Horn,
Approve.
Claudia Jolin,
Approve.
Doug McCoach,
Approve.
Justin Williams,
Approve.
and Eric Stevenson.
Approve. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you in 3 weeks at Baltimore Unity Hall.
6 p.m.